Lu Qing, who came over on the other side, took the opportunity. A knife stabbed the monster in the abdomen, still avoided by him like an unpredictable prophet. Lu Qing was helpless in the face of such a monster. The dancer or demon of the Eros mirror possessed strong mental energy, can radiate around. Let the surrounding scenery and immortals avoid being trapped in the brain. Any stalking, ambush, or lock-on, or killing intent can't escape the insight of the mirror dancer of love. This is the unique divine will of the Eros mirror. At this time, the monster suddenly turned over. Everyone didn't understand what the hell this monster was doing. For a while, I was a little afraid to come forward and fight. In the woods on the other side, Xu Qian'an is holding Song Qing Song's military mother. After applying poison to it, he aimed at the monster and shot an arrow. It's a pity that he avoided it. It seems that sneak attacks don't work against nerve-refining masters. The safest thing to do now is to keep waiting. Let Nicholas Song and a few tool people continue to consume monsters, to lower his spiritual senses. And then he had a chance. Use this to kill the divine mirror's divine mirror. Lu Qing is like a vigorous female leopard. Two powerful long legs rush to fight each other for a lifetime. Finally, stab the tip of the high-frequency trembling knife into the monster's abdomen. Blood-soaked blades. The monster roared in pain. The head bent. The mandible is broken. An empty shadow shot out. Lu Qing's face sank. He couldn't dodge the blow. At this moment, a figure quickly attacked him. Hold the female catcher's head. His plump and muscular body rolled him sideways. Lu Qing didn't seem to have reacted yet. Su wife and shouted angrily, "Is it possible to increase the salary? You don't want to die." Only then did Lu Qing react. Blurted out in surprise that you weren't dead. Xu Qian'an smiled. "I almost confessed. If it weren't for the heart shield that Song Qing gave himself, by the words of the gong alone, his own boy was martyred before he broke." Lu Qing just wanted to speak, and he saw the top of his head splitting down. The monster's tail hurriedly hugged Xu Qian'an. "Roll with him to get out of the way. Where he used to lie down. It's been pumped out into a deep ravine." Lu Qing didn't seem to realize it. His face was almost on the side of Xu Qian's mouth. Xu Qian smiled and said, "We are even." You cleared for a few seconds. The heartbeat was also at full speed at this moment. Blushed. "Get off, Xu Qian." Seeing the companion did not reprimand. Zhu Guangxiao and Song Tingfeng's eyes lit up. Xu Qian took out the bone poison from his arms. "And tell them to rub this on the blade." Nicholas Song wondered where you got this thing. It was only then that a huge tongue struck him. Nicholas Song looked back with a feeling. It's just a matter of looking at it. As a result, it was too late for him to think about dodging. Seeing this, Lu Qing directly drew his knife and slashed over. This knife, the knot slashed firmly on the monster's tongue. The monster was stabbed on the tongue. The wound quickly darkened. This is followed by a rancid odor. He looked at Xu Qian in surprise. "Your corpse bone poison is effective." Xu Qian smiled. His fighting spirit was also stimulated at this moment. The counterattack begins. The four of them went straight to the monster. The monster suddenly panicked. Sticking out his tongue, he shot at Song Tingfeng. Only this time, was easily dodged by Nicholas Song, who had been prepared. Then pour all your energy into your right hand. A fierce knife slashed at the monster. The monster roared in pain. Zhu Guangxiao seized the opportunity and jumped up. Holding the long sword, it cut horizontally into the monster's abdomen. But then the monster went berserk. A tail sturdily pumped at him. Zhu Guangxiao's ribs were broken a few times. Didn't wait for the monster to breathe. Two more stabs stabbed the monster in the abdomen. Xu Qian and Lu Qing cooperated, dealt a heavy blow to the monster. Blood gushed out from the monster's abdomen like a fountain. He lay on the ground, heavy, gasping heavily. The next moment, I saw his cheeks agitate again. Xu Qian and the others had already prepared. Flying backwards. Distance. Avoid being attacked by long snakes. But who knew that after the monster forced everyone back? Turned, fleeing like claws. He burrowed into the woods, rudely knocking down tree after tree. Forge a path. Lu Qin's face was pale. Can't let him run away if he catches up. Once the monster enters the water, it will be difficult to destroy it again. It's just that they underestimated the monster's desire to survive. When the monster plunges into the river, none of them were able to catch up. It's just that Xu Qian'an is unwilling to give up. Step out of the air, take out the crossbow from your bosom. Pull the trigger on the position where the monster went into the water. The moment the arrow was fired, powerful gas fluctuations exploded. The surface of the river suddenly exploded with lightning. Between the flints, none of them reacted. Xu Qian'an completed everything. A few seconds later, a magical scene happened. The surface of the river was covered with blood-colored water. A 2-foot-long monster slowly floated up. Everyone was dumbfounded, completely unaware that they have one. Lu Qing turned his head in a daze, looking at the young and upright watchman. He was able to predict the location of the monster after it entered the water, and shoot through the brain accurately. This keen insight and judgment is simply terrifying. Xu Qian'an shrugged, respond to his gaze. I've always been lucky. Not much effort. The monster was dragged ashore. The village chief saw that the monster was dead. Be brave enough to come up and output a meal. Xu Qian'an saw that it was almost there. I ask you, when was that cave to the south mined? The village chief thought for a moment. That's the kiln left from before. There is not much limestone to the south. The road is not easy to walk. It was abandoned many years ago. Decayed. I don't know when it was mined like this. Xu Qian'an said again, did people often walk over there before? The village chief shook his head. Xu Qian'an was speechless. You go back and wait first. Wait for Huya to summon you. A quarter of an hour later, 3 horses pulled the corpse of the monster. Walk slowly on the official road. Song Tingfeng rode his horse closer. Xu Qian'an, he seems to have a good impression of you. Xu Qian'an whispered what you wanted to say. Nicholas Song said, Lu Zhutu is quite famous in the 6 gates of the capital. He is still unmarried. Every man, all aspire to be a lone wanderer on a certain road. Isn't it? Lu Qing belongs to the older leftover women in this era. Xu Qian'an smiled. Then you work hard. Nicholas Song sighed and shook his head. A person like me. It is only suitable to be called Feng Si. Xu Qian'an said shyly. Even the tree-lined trails you yearn for. Every morning and dusk is hung with hoarfrost. Zhu Guangxiao frowned. I don't understand what the 2 colleagues are laughing at. Xu Qian'an asked, right? What was your trick just now? Song Tingfeng said that the howling wind sword technique. Xu Qian'an wondered if he didn't use a knife. Song Tingfeng towered. Who said that the sword can't perform swordsmanship? Xu Qian'an said yes in his heart. Who said that you can't stab someone without a gun? They talked and laughed. A group of people in front of him came from Mozhang, gathered towards the official road. At the head of the group is the village chief. In the past 6 months, we really can't live anymore. If it weren't for a few adults to eradicate the evil for us. Say something lawless. Can't afford to pay taxes. We can only flee and become outcasts. It's all the eggs our whole village has put together. Sir, please take it. Xu Qian'an looked at the village chief's worried eyes. The sweeping cloth gray households have yellow and thin faces. He knows. That's what this village is all about. Xu Qian'an refused from the bottom of his heart. But I don't want to hurt that. The hearts of the poor people who are struggling to eat and wear. Xu Qian'an finally took the basket of eggs. The people around him smiled. They are genuinely grateful to the eyes. The former of these grown-ups. Xu Qian'an exhaled heavily. If you insist on not to, and tell them out loud, do not take a stitch from the people. I guess it will frighten them. Spring Breeze Hall. Brother Chun personally sorted out their clothes as a token of appreciation. Then he asked about the saltpeter mine in Daoists. What do you guys think? Song Tingfeng said, according to Su Ningyin's analysis, the drug is consciously driven to recovery, and we found a food mine in the mountains. This is definitely no coincidence. As for the rest, take it easy. If you handle the case, forget it. Xu Qian'an added, I'm sure now. Drugs drive away the surrounding causes of recovery. It is to monopolize the consumption minerals. There's just a catch. I can't figure out why drugs are targeting consumption minerals. This stuff can be used in addition to medicine. Then there's gunpowder. Li Yuchen heard this. The pupils constricted. The word gunpowder exploded in his heart. He quickly pulled out a piece of rice paper, spread it flat on the table. Then I picked up the pen and wrote the book. After a while, he was muttering in place that it was a demon clan. Song Tingfeng took Xu Qian to the study. Fill out the injury paperwork. You can rest for 2 days after writing this. Nicholas Song pointed to the sky. Taoist Fong Si walked up. Xu Qian looked at Zhu Guangxiao. It doesn't matter what your injuries are. Zhu Guangxiao responded in a deep voice. The women of the Department of Education know how to serve people. Xu Qian was stunned. This means that they will move on their own. Originally, Xu Qian wanted to go home. But second Uncle Su knows that fighting people requires a profession. And the aunt obviously doesn't care about whether she goes home or not, because he will only hum and chirp at himself all day long. Xu Qian simply followed them to Jiaofeng Temple. Outside the small media pavilion of the Jiaofeng Temple, Song Tingfeng looked at Xu Qian suspiciously. What do you think? There are so many yards in the church division. You don't choose the sky. Brother Ingmei carries Miss Fuxiang's tea around. It was 10 taels of silver, and he rarely accompanies guests. Usually, there are only guests playing tea for a few days in a row, and there is no shore in the wood. Why waste money? Xu Qian pointed at himself and smiled. It's just an eye-opener. Hit the silver around the tea. I'm here. Nicholas Song and Zhu Guangxiao smiled. Xu Qian's heart was surging at the moment. Fuka girl, I'm ashamed before I came to the snow. I handed over the silver for the tea round. The 3 of them took their seats. At this moment a voice came. It was called Xu Qian's pseudonym. A young man in a pale blue shirt stood up. Look around. Is Yangling Yanggongzi here? A middle-aged man dressed as a rich man asked curiously, Brother Tai, who is this Yangling? The young man, who was as pale blue as a mountain, said proudly, The shadow is sparse, and the water is shallow. Dark incense floats in the moon dusk. Have you ever heard this poem come out? It was the current reader. It is called the Yongmei Quatrain, since the ages. Of course, a good sentence that only we readers can make. The rich man wondered, why is the boy looking for someone here? Because of this eternal swan song. It came out in Yin Mei's little brother. This poem was given to Fuxiang girl by Yang Ling and Yang Gongzi. The people around couldn't help but sigh. It's no wonder that Yin Mei Xiaoga has been a good guest recently. No wonder Miss Fuka always doesn't show up. I heard that Miss Fuxiang has easily stopped accompanying guests. The mountain man lamented that Yang Gongzi only appeared once in the teaching workshop division. There was no news. Guozijian sent someone to Changle County to find him. The result was no such person. I come to Yinmei Xiaoga every day just to wait for her. It's not just me. The students in the capital want to make friends with this person. Nicholas Song said, That's good. Fuka girl. It's not a woman we can covet anymore. Xu Qian was a little weak-hearted. Did you inadvertently coax the family? Song Tingfeng said helplessly. It's a pity that you still can't solve the case. If you could be the same as that Yang Ling. Write a quatrain for the ages. Fuxiang girl upside down. Are willing to Xu Qian found the Huadian upside down. I heard that it was okay to prostitute for nothing. The whole person is not calm. Nicholas Song said, Poor scholars can occasionally give furniture to the dusty woman. He's going to be worth a lot. This is a good thing for mutual benefit, and those who were famous at a young age. It is the object of praise by women in the dust. Don't say you don't want silver, even if you are willing to post it upside down. The Ziyang monks of Yunlu Academy were quite talented back then. After winning the top prize, he stayed in the teaching workshop. Not even a penny of money came out in March. Just as the two continued to drink and exchange experiences. A maid who waits for a guest to drink. Xu Qian'an was discovered. After staring at Xu Qian'an for a few seconds, a look of ecstasy, he turned away from the drinkers, ran out of the house regardless of the image. Soon after, the costumed Oiran lady appeared. The souls of the diners were hooked all at once. The thickness of Fuxiang's dress is just right. It is not bloated, highlights the delicate and convex mature figure. It doesn't make people feel coquettish. This is the same as when Xu Qian'an first saw him. Obviously more particular about dressing. The fragrance lady has a pair of wonderful eyes. Sweep over the guest. There was a pause on Xu Qian'an. Song Tingfeng was slightly shocked, and Fu Xiang looked at me just now. Zhu Guangxiao was unconvinced and said that he was looking at me. Only Xu Qian'an was silent, because he knew that Fukuoka was looking at himself. Instead of the two of them. When the incense came up, the diners danced a song. The guests were pleasantly surprised. Su Weifan sighed at this figure. If only I could dance a song to myself in the pure land of bliss. The end of a song. Fuxiang drank a glass of wine, retired with a red face. Xu Qian'an has a long aftertaste. Dao, if only I could stay in her room tonight. Just two colleagues around me. All mercilessly ridiculed her as a toad. Just as the two colleagues were laughing at Xu Qian'an, a maid approached. Dao Yonggongzi. My lady invites you into the house for tea. Nicholas Song and Zhu Guangxiao were shocked. You call him Ma Mei. Xu Qian'an waved at them. Tomorrow's day. The gate of the courtyard is not scattered. The eyes of the drinkers in the room widened. They're worth it tonight. Not only did I see the floating incense, what's even more rare is that I also saw the legendary willow. Warm as spring bedroom. Bathtub behind the screen. Su wife soaked in hot water full of flower petals. Fuka hugged her. I haven't seen you for a few days. Child is getting more and more imposing. Su wife and supported her goose egg face. Laugh as long as you like. My change was worth it. Fuxiang blushed. Some shy delight. Will say something nice to coax the slave son. Obviously, they don't look down on me. How can any man hold her all night? Do nothing. Su wife and took her into his arms. It was a tiring day. Then leaned over and asked in her ear if it was cold. The Oiran nodded aggrievedly. Xu Qian'an pulled him into the bathtub. Fuka screamed in surprise. Fuxiang lay in Xu Qian'an's arms. Coquettish said that he hated. He sat on Xu Qian'an's belly. There's a pair of people talking. Ask him for poetry. Although Xu Qian'an is a parallel import. But there are many poems in the stomach. Occasionally pop up a few sentences. It made Oiran red-faced with excitement. At this time, Fuxiang asked about Zhou Shilong's dismissal and exile. Did Yang Gongzi hear about it? Xu Qian'an heard about it. It seems that he was impeached by the Marquis of Weiwu. The Oiran lady raised her charming and amorous face, staring at him. It seems that it is because of the thief of Zhou Gongzi. Kidnapped the concubine of the mighty Marquis. Su Weifan said with half surprise and half emotion. Beauty is a bone scraper. As a veteran of criminal investigation, no one can easily extract information from him. Fu Xiang may be suspicious. It doesn't have to be doubtful. Heart, but certainly curiosity. Because there is no such coincidence. I've just finished talking about the old days that day. Zhou Li really shot at the mighty Marquis. I need to strengthen this woman's affection for me. Let her lean toward me from the bottom of her heart. Lest one day I tell an official about me. Xu Qian'an hugged the beauty and said that he saw the girl dancing just now. Suddenly my heart was touched. A few words of vomiting. Laughter this year and next year. autumn moon, spring breeze, and other leisure. Tears welled up in the Oiran lady's eyes, crying in a low voice. Is child poking the slave's heart? Child is so ruthless. Next up is the paid content. Let's skip it here. The next day, Xu Qian'an greeted the two colleagues with a radiant face. Nicholas Song asked enviously, "What does it taste like to be a Fushan girl?" The corners of Xu Qian's mouth were very moist. From now on, call me Runjushi. Su Fuli's family was eating breakfast. Xu Qian's voice came, and I came back. Little Doubting looked out in surprise. Xu Qian hugged the satin, smiled, and bought silk for his aunt and sisters. Auntie is holding her breath in her heart, lifted his snow-white and pointed chin, snorted. Little Doubting tugged at the hem of his trousers, yelling at the big brother in his mouth. "Big brother, I saw my sister secretly hiding and crying yesterday." Su Lingyue's melon seed face turned red. "In front of your family. It's not easy to behave." Xu Qian smiled at the beautiful girl, then kicked the shuttlecock into the air. "Probe and hold it." The aunt was taken aback. Little Bean Ding giggled heartlessly. The second uncle was stunned. "You've stepped into the qi refining realm." After breakfast, Xu Qian took the ins and outs of this matter. "Tell your family." Xu Qianlian asked the eldest princess, "Why would someone be sent to follow you?" Xu Qian thought for a moment, said that maybe the day of the vision of the Yashing school palace. "The eldest princess is also in the academy. I was the only outsider there. It was impossible for him not to pay attention to it." Xu Qianlian said in a deep voice. The eldest princess was very thoughtful. He not only studied at Yunlu Academy for many years. Yu Weiyuan is half a master-apprentice relationship. His chess skills are superb. Recommend women to be watchers. It's not a whim. If the eldest brother is summoned by him in the future, remember to be cautious. Xu Qian nodded heavily. Su Ci, who could be arrogant? It is so important and fearful. It shows that the eldest princess is not a simple character. At this time, Xu Xingyan raised his proud little chin. "Dao, I have stepped into the realm of self-cultivation. The 8 qualities of Confucianism. What is the divine meaning of the self-cultivation realm? As an open-hanging-like system, the 8-rank realm is naturally not too weak." Xu Xingyan's expression was proud, and he said where his will was. "Although tens of millions of people have gone to me." The next moment, Xu Qian's heart was full of pride, burst out with the courage to face thousands of troops alone. This inexplicable courage lasted for a quarter of an hour, before it slowly dissipated. Self-cultivation is the process of sharpening one's courage. Confucianism in this realm. Words and deeds are convincing. For example, the eldest brother just felt that what I said made sense. So I will do it unconsciously. In the future, I will become an official in the court. Solving cases is no worse than you. Sue's wife said with peace of mind. "No, I'm relying on real skills." "You're cheating." This is the equivalent of a courage buff. The prototype of the word. Xu Qian's eyes lit up, looked at Xu Xingyan, and said goodbye shyly. "The old big brother usually treats you well." Xu Xingyan didn't wait for him to finish. He brushed his sleeves and left. Xu Qian went back to his small courtyard and took a corner. Suddenly, he was inexplicably awakened. The source that alarmed him. It's a bathroom path hidden under a pillow. A line of small print appears on the prefabricated mirror. It's a message with a number 9. "Where are you?" Xu Qian stared at the mirror and was stunned for a long time. The mirror spoke. He is a self-aware treasure. What does shell 9 mean? This mirror is called 9. If it's a mirror of self-spirituality, that doesn't ask where you are. Because I slept in the same bed as you. Bed sharing every day. Xu Qian stared at the mirror and fell into deep thought. What is a mirror? Treasure in addition to storing items. You can also receive information. And is this information? If yes, then who sent it? And then there is the old way. Why did he give me the mirror? And should I respond? Xu Qian quickly gave up the idea of responding. As long as I pretend I don't have it, then he doesn't have the idea of thinking. In the small restaurant of the Moon in the Green Building, Zhu Xianling pulled Xu Qian and said, "You read. You are a person from my yamen in Chang'an County. Can become a watchman. The blessing of our Chang'an County. This official used to be very optimistic about you." After saying that, I drank it all. Su Xian once. Zhu Xianling is probably in the officialdom himself. The first person you can trust. At this time, Lao Bao called a group of young and beautiful girls. Take it to a private room. Let the officials choose. The posture is not bad. Zhu Xian ordered Xu Qian to choose very generously. It's just that Xu Qian politely refused. After tasting the sweetness of the beauty of the floating fragrance, he looked down on ordinary women. When Xu Qian left the Xiaoya pavilion and returned home, I found that my yard was still brightly lit. When Xu Qian entered the house, discover a beautiful figure. It's Lingyue girl. Xu Qian woke up the sleeping girl. "How are you here?" After speaking, he immediately glanced at the cabinet next to the bed. There is no sign of the sword being opened. I was relieved. Maybe I can consider writing a diary in English in the future. Su Lingyue was worried about why the eldest brother didn't go home for dinner. Dad said that the eldest brother must have gone to the Qinglu. Xu Qian was speechless, and the second uncle really understood me in pain. No, just normal socializing. I went to the Lightman, so the Yamen invited his colleagues to dinner. Lin Yu's sister breathed a sigh of relief. I see. Now that the eldest brother has already eaten, then I'll go back. It's still hot in the kitchen. Xu Qian was a little moved. In addition to the second uncle in this family, just this sister is the best for him. Xu Qian said, "It's not safe to go out and walk at night when it's dark. Big brother will send you." Su Lingyue did not refuse. I saw Xu Qian pointing to the wall and saying, "It's close here." Sister Lingyue was suddenly frightened. "But Xu Qian doesn't care so much about you." Picked up Sister Lingyue, jumped into the air, and flipped over. Xu Qian smiled and looked. I was home all at once. It's just that the girl's heart is beating wildly at this moment. Then he hurriedly pushed Xu Qian away. Shameful and angry, he ran away. Xu Qian doesn't care so much about you. I went back to sleep when I was done, but when he just returned to his yard, he had inexplicable heart palpitations again. Throw the bathroom path in your arms. The clean mirror slowly emerges with a line of small words. Where are you? National Anti-Fraud Center. Downloads or not? Xu Qian didn't download it. As a result, I received a lot of inexplicable messages. He's smart enough, though. Didn't choose to reply. But the news will come again and again. If you don't solve it, you always feel that it is a hidden danger. Still have to reply to the message. There are two reasons to reply. One is that the mirror is now his possession after all. If you can thoroughly understand the function and divine will of the mirror, it was a good thing that was necessary for him. The second is, he suspected that this message was sent by the old Taoist priest. If so, he'll be able to figure it out. Why did the other party give him the treasure? The gift of the unknown is unsettling after all. But how do you enter it? Xu Qian tried voice typing. I'm taking a shower. There is no change in the surface of the mirror that can be cleaned. Xu Qian changed his approach. Replace the pen with a piece of paper. Right in the mirror. A magical scene happened with this sentence. The mirror symbol is 3. Messages sent. He, in the bath. Xu Qian fell in a deep thought at this moment. Convey thinking through touch. Does 3 represent the serial number of my mirror? The other party is wine. He also has a mirror. Wine again, send a message of who you are. Where is senior brother Jean Lien? Dead or alive? How did you get this mirror? You are a member of the Heaven and Earth Society. Xu Qian stared at the mirror. It seems that senior brother Jean Lien. It should be the Taoist who gave me the mirror. This 9 calls him a senior brother. The 2 should be in the same door. As for what kind of world the heaven and earth will be in his mouth. There is also the anti-Qing dynasty and the restoration of sight. Xu Qian'an used paper to write the information. I am not a member of the Heaven and Earth Society. This mirror was given to me by an old Taoist priest. Number 9 replied, how do you prove that you are not a member of the Heaven and Earth Society? Give your name to the poor. I'm just a nobody. I don't know where the Taoist who gave you the mirror is. Poor self-pity. The Taoist who gave you the mirror is the senior brother of the poor Dao. This mirror is the magic weapon of our emperor. Since senior brother gave you the mirror, Your Excellency is no ordinary person. I'm sure you've heard of my daimyo of the Earth sect. Xu Qian'an replied, sorry. Nothing. The Daomen is divided into 3 sects, heaven, earth, and man. Xu Qian'an was in good spirits. It turned out to be a person from the Taoist gate. Then replied to the Dao Heaven and Earth Society. Heaven and earth will be a cult. He has coveted the magic weapon of our emperor for a long time. This magic weapon is also called Uncle D. It can be communicated thousands of miles. I received a distress message from senior brother Jin Lian a while ago. Knew that he went to Dafeng capital. Because only to enter the capital. In order to avoid the pursuit of the Heaven and Earth Society. But when I arrived in the capital, lost the contact information of senior brother Jin Lian. Therefore, it was summoned through Uncle D. Only then did I know that he had handed over Uncle D to you. Presumably, the senior brother's condition is very critical. I had to give up Uncle D. To protect yourself. Xu Qian'an was shocked. I mean that. The old Taoist priest threw the pot at me. Number 9 continued. I just don't know where Your Excellency is sacred. I can let senior brother Jin Lian rest assured that I will entrust my uncle to you. Why can the abandoned uncle protect himself? The people of the Heaven and Earth Society can lock the position of the younger uncle. This matter involves a secret room of my brother's sect. Poor Road cannot be informed. Uncle Emperor is the treasure of my sect. I hope that Your Excellency can return it to the Poor Road. There must be great dangers in the Poor Road. Xu Qian'an's eyes lit up. Then he replied, how to pay you back? Xu Qian'an was a little reluctant. After all, it's a treasure that can be used as a storage ring. But considering that the risks that accompany him are too great. The Poor Road is in the capital. You can come to you at any time. If you can't believe the poor way, it is up to you to choose the exchange address. What you want. The Taoist chief was polite. It is the duty of the next generation to return things to their rightful owners. It's just that the Golden Lotus Dao elder said to the next at that time, this is the most precious treasure of heaven and earth. 500 taels of gold were awarded to me. It's not about asking for money. It's just that the treasure is returned to its rightful owner. Naturally, the gold will be returned to its rightful owner. Equivalent exchange. It's been a long time. Number 9 replied. That's how it should be. Xu Qian'an was immediately excited. Isn't this a post? Another protagonist of this manga has appeared. That is the little mare under Xu Qian'an's crotch. The Watchman Yamen is in the inner city. It's too far away from Su's house. If you can't go to work, it's almost time for lunch at the Yamen. Thereupon, Xu Qian'an rode the mount that was originally Uncle Su. Went to work. Of course, now Xu Qian'an has become his new master. Spring Breeze Hall. Xu Qian'an arched his hand. I want to go to the dark poison vault. The silver gong beside Li Yuchen asked casually. This is the new man under your hands. Li Yuchen asked. What a bottleneck. Li Yuchen Light Island. The following silver luo praises the island. Not bad. That's what the Yamen needs. Young people with potential. That In Luo looked at Xu Qian'an at this time. If you have any questions in the future, you could go directly to Kurihara. The secret poison depot of the Jiagang Yamen is divided into 4 areas. A, B, C, D. The gong can only be consulted in the T-shaped room. The number of documents at the grassroots level of the Assassination Ding clan is also the largest, because the more you go through, the fewer the number of files. Xu Qian'an flipped through the information of the Dao men here. The origin of the Dao Gate comes from the Dao Zun. The age of Dao Zun can no longer be verified. Legend has it that Dao Zun was a strange man from ancient times. He gasifies and clears 3 times. They are Yuan Shi Tianzuan, Moral Tianzuan, Lingbao Tianzuan, secretly combining the 3 talents of heaven, earth, and man. This is the origin of the 3 sects of Dao men, heaven, earth, and man. Among them, the 2 sects of heaven and man are as powerful as fire and water. They all claim to be orthodox. I can't wait to knock out the other party's brains. The land sect is the weakest. Literati style, very low-key. Don't fight for fame and profit. On this, people who don't know think that there are only 2 sects of heaven and man in the Dao men. The salted fish is distressing. This year, the dispute over Taoism is probably the biggest contradiction. The earth worships the moral celestial. What is cultivated is immeasurable merit. They travel the world. Be low-key. Do good deeds without leaving a name. When you get merit, you go. Merit in a sense. It is cognate with luck. So the old Taoist priest of that earth sect. You can see what makes me special. I know that I am a blessed European emperor. He threw the hot potato to me with peace of mind. Xu Qian's heart that wants to kill Jin Lian is gone. Aren't you a meritor? How to clean up some immoral things. That's how he made the association. The odd luck in oneself is also a merit. But the ancestors of the Xu family have been ordinary people for 18 generations. The second uncle's generation has improved slightly. The brothers are still chopping wires with kitchen knives in their hands. Sharpay with sparks and lightning all the way. Good things didn't work. On the battlefield, a lot of people were killed. At this time, the administrator made hot tea and brought it over to chat. Dao Darren is in the information of Cha Renzong. Xu Qian asked rhetorically. The officials of Renzong smiled. Don't you know? Our national teacher is the contemporary Taoist of Renzong. Lord Wei was very displeased with the woman's Daoist. Xu Qian suddenly realized, in the past, it was only known that the saints were obsessed with monasticism today. You can seek immortality. Sealed a fairy-like Taoist aunt as a national teacher. I didn't expect it to be Renzong. The capital is like a small waterhole, but it was crowded with dragons. See Tianjin's warlock, the thief, the sect, and the guard. The Confucian Yunlu Academy. Dabong Military Court Civil Official Group. No wonder number 9 said that the people of the Heaven and Earth Society did not dare to enter the capital. You come in and try it. Try it, just try it. The corners of Xu Qian's mouth twitched. Dao. You can find me the information of the Heaven and Earth Society again. There is also a book from the ground. Do you know the book from the ground? The treasure of heaven and earth. And if I want to go to warehouse number 3, A, B, C, what channels to apply? The original text of the example speaks of warehouses B and C. They correspond to gold gongs and silver gongs. As for the fake word treasury, you can only enter with a handwritten letter from a health worker. However, you are looking for the Tiandahui in the book from the ground. There is a treasury in D. Tiandahui sounds like a Jianghu organization. And Uncle D is the legendary ancient magic weapon. Neither is something classified. I'll go check the manual. Look at where it is. Not long after. So the clerk found the information. There are thousands of organizations on the rivers and lakes. Some of them operate some gray income. They are all quite obedient, willing to submit to the imperial court. Some of the rivers and lakes with particularly profound backgrounds. I don't buy the accounts of the imperial court, but they exist. It also played a role in stabilizing the side. Occasionally, they will spontaneously suppress bandits. Heaven and Earth Society. It is one of the humble organizations in the rivers and lakes. Accounts of him. It first appeared in front of Yijiazi. There was a great drought in Yunzhou that year. The homeless people fell into the grass, plundering the local rivers and lakes, The forces united with the imperial court to suppress bandits. Heaven and earth will be. One of them, Xu Qian'an. I thought I could exchange the book for a lot of silver, but it was discovered by accident. It seems that I have fallen into a fraud den. Not only did the money not be made, on the contrary, he almost died. He continued to check the information of the Heaven and Earth Society. The world will still seem to be quite narrow, but it could also be for fame. The Heaven and Earth Society is not an active organization. Very little is documented, but since he can force the master of the Earth sect to flee into the capital, it shows that he is a very large and powerful organization. Such an organization can hide the intelligence king of the Watchmen. It also makes sense. Should I report to Brother Chun? Enrich the arsenal of hidden poison against the Watchmen. But that's it. Isn't my 500 tails yellow? Uncle D is such a baby. In case one of the golden gongs takes a fancy to it. What if I just hand it over to the treasury? Xu Qian'an and the booklet. Open the relevant information of Uncle D. Uncle D is a treasure of antiquity. The origin cannot be verified. I only know that it is the Tao Venerable who cannot be verified in the age of birth. Legacy. Most of these ancient treasures were born from heaven and earth. It is not humanly refined. They have one trait in common. It's the blood that is. Xu Qian'an said, I know this routine. It's not such a boring little routine to go around. He took out the small jade mirror in his arms. Place on the table. With a knife out of the sheath 2 inches. Fingertips press lightly on the blade. Immediately, the red blood poured out, dripping on the surface of the small jade mirror. The blood lingered on the mirror for a few seconds, absorbed by the mirror. The next moment, the scene in front of Xu Qian's eyes began to blur. In its place was chaos. In the chaos, he saw 8 points of light hanging in the chaotic world. These 8 points of light symbolize other mirrors. Plus I have exactly 9 mirrors. Xu Qian's gaze swept over, trying to find number 9, but he didn't know which point of light number 9 belonged to. I ordered it casually. The ball of light followed. The point of light suddenly rippled like a ripple of water. Ripples spread throughout the chaos of it. Xu Qian seemed to be in a dream. The scene in front of you is restored. Still in the reception hall of the dark poison vault. But he knew it wasn't a dream, because after the blood is confessed, Jade Shaojing has some kind of wonderful connection with him. Then, a line of words slowly emerges from the mirror. Don't believe in number 9. Then send 3 times in a row, don't respond. It's the seriousness of the matter. Quiet reception hall. Xu Qian stared at this sentence. A cold sweat broke out on his spine. Unspeakable fear pervades my heart. This number 6. It should be the point of light I just clicked. What did he mean by that? Number 9 is lying to me. If number 9 is lying to me. And why? Number 6 now that I know that number 9 lied to me. Why didn't you tell me sooner? If the number 9 is not credible, that number 6 is equally doubtful. Lao Tzu doesn't believe anyone. Xu Qian took a deep breath. Enter information on paper. Who are you? Why do you say that number 9 is not credible? You are a member of the Heaven and Earth Society. Yes or no, reply number 6. Yes. Xu Qian was silent for a few seconds. Write what you just said. The book from the ground belongs to the Heaven and Earth Society. Number 9 is a member of the Earth sect. They are a bunch of ferocious and brutal madmen. Unreasonable. You must never have contact with them. I am afraid that my life will be feared. Xu Qian replied. How do you know I'm connected to the 9th? Fragment 3 was banned by the people of the Earth sect. Cut off the ability to transmit to and from us. And the people of the Earth sect can lock number 3 through the number 9 shard. That's why the Golden Link Dao commander discarded the fragments. The reason for the transfer to you. Xu Qian suddenly figured out a lot of things. No wonder number 9 is in no hurry to urge my things to return to their original owners. And give me the initiative. Let me pick the location. No wonder yesterday, I asked the ninth. The people of the Heaven and Earth Society. Is it possible to borrow a book from the ground to lock my location? Instead, he changed the subject. I choose to trade. He can eat black and eat black. Kill me, I don't choose. He can also stall for time if he chooses a trade. Until I lock my location. Xu Qian's scalp was numb, and he burst into foul language in his heart. On the 6th, he continued to send a message that Uncle D was won. We can still pass the hand in. See your communication with the ninth. Until you confess the Lord with a drop of blood. A connection was made with me. I hope you can return the fragments of the book to heaven and earth. If you are not at ease, I'll give you an address. You get people to be sent there. Xu Qian looked at the news and was disgusted. Lao Tzu's 500 tales of gold are gone. Now I can't believe anyone. Number 6 is not necessarily a good person. Maybe it's also anti-routine. If you were so easy to fool, the police academy was in vain. Xu Qian replied. The book from the ground is a treasure of the Heaven and Earth Society. Number 9 is the person of the emperor. Could it be that the emperor covets the emperor's uncle? According to the internal information of the Watchman, Uncle D is the treasure of the Daomen Emperor sect, and the Heavenly Emperor Society is just a Jianghu organization. There is clearly something wrong with this statement. On the 6th, he continued to send news that Uncle D was the treasure of Emperor Zhong. But that was before. He now belongs to the Heaven and Earth Society, and the Heaven and Earth Society was formed by some of the people of the Earth sect. Together I said, this matter involves a secret of the Earth sect. I'm not from the Earth sect. Inconvenient to disclose. I understand. Leave an address. Yangshui Street in the inner city. The house opposite Zhang's silk shop. A loquat tree was planted in the precincts. Xu Qian had completely regained his composure at this time. I took a sip of the tea that was gradually losing its temperature. At the moment, he has 3 options in front of him. The first is to recognize number 6. Then send the mirror back. He can pay someone to deliver it. There is no need to consider the identity of number 6. And not afraid of the lock of the knife. I got out of it myself. The second is to trade with number 9. The downside is that you may face the danger of eating black and eating black. The good thing is that once you bet right, 500 taels of gold in hand. The third is to hand over the handover of the book to the more people, in exchange for meritorious service on this. The ancient Jibao Yamen must have been happy to accept Wei Yuan. The great eunuch would never sit idly by. I just joined the Watchman. There is no credit. There are no resources. Just in time, you can exchange the book for a splendid future. After making up your mind, Xu Qian put the contents of the book from the ground. All of them were taken out. Curiosity building, ground floor. Xu Qian strode forward, said and quickly told Wei Gong. Xu Qian has a major incident report. But the doorman looked at him on the gong. If you have something, go to the prostitute directly under you. Xu Qian's temper suddenly went up, and Yin Luo was not there. The situation is urgent. Go quickly. He didn't plan to let more people know about it. Heaven and earth will also be good. It's okay to go to the sect. These are big forces. They may not dare to retaliate against the violators. But I have a family, so you have to downplay your own traces in this matter. Let the people of the Heaven and Earth Society and the Earth sect ignore themselves. Curious about the top floor of the building. Standing in the observation hall was dressed in green clothes. Wei Yuan turned his head. What is the matter of gentleness? Xu Qian didn't dare to look directly. Bow your head slightly and look at Duke Wei. There is a major discovery in the lowly position. Here's a notice. As he spoke, he took out the jade path from his arms. Chun Dao said that this is a book from the ground. It is the treasure of the Taoist disciple sect. Wei Yuan was stunned, staring at the trail how you got him. Xu Qian did not hide it. But how to get the mirror, how to receive information, and what happened in the dark poison vault. Tell the eunuch as it is. Wei Yuan smiled and said that he was worth 500 taels of gold. Xu Qian was speechless. Isn't it strange that you're focusing on something? Then he laughed. The villain only seeks benefits within reasonable limits. Wei Yuan's gaze fell back on the mirror. Then, a line of words emerged from the mirror, and it was thought through. When to trade. The corners of the eunuch's mouth twitched. Throwing the mirror to Xu Qian'an. The mirror has already dripped blood to recognize the Lord. Only you can reply. Tell him that the place of the trade is in the inner city. Guiyue Lu Luanfeng and Mingya room. The time was set an hour later. Xu Qian immediately replied in the mirror. Number 9 immediately replied. You didn't reveal your identity and address. Good response. Go down, someone will do it. Xu Qian asked in his heart. Then my 500 taels of gold, no. The merit is just that he didn't dare to say it. Gray left the book and retreated. Originally, Xu Qian planned to go to Guilin to listen to the song. Soothe yourself the feeling of losing 500 taels and mirrors. The reason why I came to the workshop division. The main thing is that the distance is close. Definitely not because of the hook. It costs thousands of silver to eat and listen to music. And the floating incense is free here. If you still don't believe me, then I'll take the personality guarantee. A total of 500 taels were given. Xu Qian is eating or sleeping, all thinking about it. This doesn't matter how the beauty in her arms teases. He just didn't react. That's not to say he can't. You see for yourselves. Xu Qian pondered the content of my chat with number 9. How did number 6 know? Shard 3 is banned. So, unable to receive messages from other shard holders. Could it be that other holders can see it? This book from the earth is an ancient version. QQ All City. I knew that after the blood was confessed. I'll try to add friends one by one. This heaven and earth society seems to have a relationship with the earth sect. Could it be a sectarian split? After a while of groping with the dollar in his arms, Xu Qian's train of thought was interrupted. I don't care about anything else. It's important to get down to business. Next up is the paid content. I'll skip it here. Guiyue Building, Luanfeng, and Mingya room. A man in a black power suit walked in. There was a knock outside the door between Luanfeng and Mingya. A faint voice came from inside. Let's come in unlocked. Inside sits a Scarface. He was a death row prisoner in the yamen. Scarface looked at the black who came in. The man in the robe was dressed like him. I definitely can't get into the infield. 80% of them were secretly replaced when they entered the Laurel Tower. There may also be weapons hidden in the robes. The black-robed man stretched out his hand and asked. Scarface said lightly, I seem to have said it. I spent 500 taels of gold on this mirror. He added in his heart. What a mirror! The special mothers asked for 500 taels of gold. The black-robed man pulled out a stack of silver tickets. Shoot on the shore. Still cherish words like gold. Open the mirror. Scarface handed him the book directly. At the same time, he took the silver ticket. I thought that the task given to me by the watchman was completed. As agreed, the watchman wants to let himself go and erase all previous charges. Just suddenly, Scarface saw the black-robed man puff up his chi and attack him. Fortunately, I was prepared. After he dodged a blow, I'm going to break the window and go out. It's just this time. He saw where he had been sitting. There was a figure sitting upright. The next moment his head flew up. The black-robed male judge laughed. Turn around and walk out of the private room. Took a certain tea shed. The black-robed man rode a fast horse. It took me an hour to get here. He took out the handbook, respectfully handed it to the old man in front. The Dao gang leader was fortunate to be killed. The gang leader Ning Mao looked into the distance. You brought back an enemy. As soon as the words fell, there was a whistling sound. The helper picked up the black-robed man, flipped in the direction of the whistling sound. The next moment, the black-robed man exploded in the air. Suddenly, the air around them was filled with the smell of blood. After a gust of wind, a figure slowly appeared behind the blood mist. The helper stared at him. Dao, you are a dog by Tsing Yi's side. I advise you not to meddle in your business. Yang Yi stared for a moment. slowly opened his eyes, and said, "If I want to take care of it." The helper crushed the teacup in his hand, said sharply, "Then don't blame the poor road for being polite." Ancient dance in plain robes. Wisps of black smoke spilled out of him. Dancing in the air, let out a terrible cry. Yang Yin frowned, and the younger brother's sect cultivated merit. When will these ghost tricks be? The gang leader's face bulged. Cobweb-like black veins. Pupils emerge. Scarlet black. Said with a smile, "Poor Dao sent you to ask Dao Tianzuan." Then there was black smoke. While smirking, pounced on Yang Yin. Yang Yin was expressionless. Charge in your hands. A punch to hit the chance of rage. Centered on him. Ripples spread around, but suddenly the sky flashed black. It presents a large array like a glass bowl. The gang leader said with a hideous face, "I am 100 ghosts." Shock comes easily. It's hard to get out. Even if you are 4 concubines and 5 husbands, you have to live and die here. Yang Yin frowned. This formation and Xu Qian'an's formation are 2 completely different areas. Xu Qian'an's formation is to borrow the momentum of heaven and earth. It can be built to last. The formation of the Dao Men is arranged by manpower. It can't last long, but this 100-ghost array is very tricky. In the major systems of practice, Dao Men is the niece of the Genshin realm. 2 gates and 6 seen gods. In ancient times, it was also called a ghost. The night is seductive. Dominate mortal life and death. This 100-ghost array is a similar method. Takeo also has magical Genshin impact, but only stacking defenses. Make Genshin impact tough. Lack of attack vectors in related areas. Yang Yin said provocatively, "I heard that Daomen Bappin is called stone tools. Can drive the magic weapon. Summons a celestial thunderbolt. Why don't you let me experience it?" Yang Yin usually looks like a stuffy gourd. I didn't expect to be so good at pretending to be 13 in a fight. I've heard that the 8 products of Daomen are called stone tools. Can drive the magic weapon. Summons a celestial thunderbolt. Why don't you let me experience it? The old man was successfully enraged. 2 streaks of blood erupted from his sleeve, like blood-colored lightning. Yang Yin does not hide or avoid. Ren has 2 blood-colored lightning attacks, but it only tore his clothes. Then it bounced off. The old man said angrily, "The copper skin and iron bones of the 5 husbands and 6 grades. It's really rough skin and thick meat. Why not fight back?" Yang Yin said lightly, "I'm waiting for my gun." The voice fell. A bright silver meteor pierced the sky. Directly pierced the formation besieging Yang Yin. Yang Yin then said lightly, "Since it is impossible to break the formation internally, then attack from the outside." Yang Yin reached out and held the spear. The old man quickly took a few steps back. He watched in disbelief as his formation was broken. The next moment, silver light flashed in the old man's blood-colored pupils. Between the electric light and flint, the old man opened his mouth and spat out a golden pill and crashed into the spear. It's just that Jean Dan turned into powder in the wings of the gun. The old man's body was churned into minced meat in the wings of the gun. Yang Yin looked at the old man in front of her indifferently. The hand is strong again. The power of the gun stirred wildly in the old man's body. The old man's primordial spirit flashed into the air. The body has become half illusory, half real. He glanced at Yang Yin as he read. Then it turned into light smoke and fled into the distance. Yang Yin bent down to pick up the bathroom path, looked at the direction in which Yin Laoing fled. There was no intention of pursuing. I turned around and went back in the direction of the capital. Black smoke escaped for hundreds of miles. Passing by a village, he stopped. Gods are incapable of long-term activity during the day. Without the physical body, the strength is greatly reduced. It may not be possible to respond to subsequent crises. The old man intends to take away a physical body and devouring the souls of the villagers. Nourish your own God. After having a plan, Black smoke billowed Nana into the village. A village that was vivid a moment ago. The next moment it shattered like a wave of water. Then the golden light burst out. Only then did the old man realize that he had won the lottery. When the golden light completely enveloped him, he was shocked to find that the village was gone. Instead, there was an old man sitting in gossip. The old man hugged the bruised muscles on his face. He shouted angrily, "It was you." Jean Lien's eyes slowly lifted upward. There is not a trace of emotion in his eyes. The curiosity of the yamen of the watchman. Wei Yuan handed the book back to Xu Qian'an, then said lightly, "Since the mirror has confessed you to be Lord, then I will leave it to you for safekeeping. And also, the first person to contact you is indeed the Emperor's sex people. I also have a murderous heart for you. Yang Jinluo has already repelled the people. You won't be in danger for a while. For a long time later, there will be a hidden stake near your home." Staring at Xu Qian'an, he was shocked. Dad didn't get things done anymore. It can also make people run away and leave hidden dangers. But he certainly didn't dare to say these words. "I can only be guilty in my heart." Wei Yuan explained a sentence of the Yin god of the younger sect. Invisible and invisible. Difficult to kill. If nothing happens, go down first. Xu Qian'an could only leave helplessly. At this time, Yang Yin was a righteous father. "I can't keep the Yin god." Wei Yuan smiled mildly. "Why do you need to stay? You're not good at it. Naturally, there are people who are good at it." After Xu Qian'an left Haoqi building, sink in. Although Uncle D is a blood-dripping lord, but since the old Taoist priest can give the mirror to himself, explain that the shedding of blood to confess the Lord is not immutable. On a gong, there is no reason to put such an important baby. I left it to myself for safekeeping, since someone is secretly watching. The safety of Aunt Su Fu and her sisters. It's safe for now. Spring Breeze Hall. Xu Qian'an bought 2 bags of fried beans. Fart to please the top boss. He shouted out for a while, "Brother Chun, I bought you fried beans." Li Yuchen glared at him. Xu Qian'an changed his words. Li Yuchen was puzzled. Zhu Guangxiao was recuperating from his injuries. Nicholas Song is idle. "Why don't you stay at home?" Xu Qian'an said tentatively. "Luckily, it didn't happen. I came to the yamen to familiarize myself with the environment." "Had you checking off the live case?" Li Yuchen nodded. "This case is currently under my charge. I can't tell you the details of the case. I'll pick what I can tell you. Now it is initially suspected that it is the remnants of the 10,000 demon kingdom, lurking near the capital." Xu Qian'an was a little shocked. He remembered the history of the Jiazi demon. Although the kingdom of 10,000 demons has become history. But over the years, the remnants of the 10,000 demon kingdom, I've been trying in every possible way to restore the country. I want to reclaim my homeland. Buddhism commands the countries of the western regions. In its heyday, the 10,000 demon kingdoms were no opponents. If you want to restore the country, you must have other means. Xu Qian'an was moved. So the idea hit our Dafeng's gunpowder. That's why the monster drove away the profligacy in the neighborhood. Li Yuchen is busy. Impatiently. "Is there anything else you can do?" Xu Qian'an said with interest. "You're not busy." After Xu Qian'an left, Brother Chun accidentally knocked over the grass beans when he was checking the information. Good beans fell right under his nose. Li Yuchen wanted to stop it, but it was too late. This is destined to be a painful time. The beans spilled all over the ground. "What do you do after work?" Xu Qian'an just thought that he had nothing to do. "I'm going to find Fuxiang tonight. It's better to look for Fuxiang." However, he soon abandoned the idea, because he wants to save money to buy a house, take the second uncle, and them to live in the inner city. It's safer that way. Although the floating fragrance Oiran has a deep affection for me. Insist on not silver. I reached a cordial and friendly friendship with myself. But the maid Wuji's reward still has to be given by herself. A penny of silver is also silver. Xu Qian'an transferred the dock with great determination. Left the inner city. When I got home, it was already brightly lit. The sky is clear. After eating, Xu Qian'an climbed over the wall and returned to his yard. In this there are no mobile phones and computers. The era of lack of nightlife. Except to go and call fonts. I just write a diary in the middle of the night. It's time to kill time. When Xu Qian'an entered the house, suddenly his muscles tensed. The body froze there. On the bed, sitting cross-legged, was an old Taoist priest in a tattered robe. We meet again. Last time a farewell. You're still a skilled martial artist. I didn't expect it to be a gas refining well now. The benefactor is indeed a person with good fortune. Xu Qian'an sank. Said that he broke into a private house at night. What does it mean? The old way is indifferent. Say hello to the donor. The poor master and disciple have been feathered. The donor no longer has any worries. Xu Qian'an was shocked you killed him. Jin Lian's tone was still indifferent, and the poor Taoist priest helped him feather. Xu Qi's heart is a bandit in the middle of the belly. Then you're here to help me with my feathering tonight. Number 9 died at the hands of this Taoist priest. If only he could deal with purple lotus alone. There is no need to give up the baby. It is very likely that the old Taoist priest came to a battle for muscles. The fisherman prophets. The question is how he showed an ambush in advance. Xu Qian'an tore, for a moment. The corners of my mouth twitched. I know. He stalked me again. The old Taoist priest could touch Xu Fu. The explanation has been tracking himself for a long time. Therefore, for their own identity to play a more person. For the deployment of the watchman. Of course it's clear. Xu Qian'an played the Taoist chief to take back the emperor's book. The old Taoist priest shook his head, and I already have it. This is the number 9 fragment held by the junior brother of poor Dao. Now the goods are finally returned to their rightful owners. As for the lost side, it should be regarded as a thank you gift from the poor road. A total of 9 fragments were delivered. The poor road was given to different people. The benefactor is also a poor person. Those 7 different people. The current heaven and earth society was formed. Xu Qian'an asked who they were. Jin Lian shook her head. They had their own identities. From all over the world. Sure is mostly curious. You can ask yourself. You know how to use the book from the ground. Poor road does not reveal anyone's identity. And that includes you. Poor Dao is here tonight. It is to invite you to join the Heaven and Earth Society. Xu Qian'an was extremely wary. Asked, I'm just a dancer who has just entered the refining realm. How could he to make the Taoist chief value it so much? Poor Dao just said, the donor is a person who shines brightly. Xu Qi was relieved, and sure enough, this old Taoist priest can see through my strange charm. Then he asked, asking the Taoist to explain his doubts. A few days ago, the poor road was hit hard. In desperation, he hid in the capital. The waiter instinctively told me, I will meet someone who can help me solve the crisis. Poor road waited on the side of the road for a long time. Finally waited for the owner. However, the poor road only knows that the blessed star shines brightly. But they don't know where their heels are. Taoist. The woman in the carriage was magnificent. There are few in the world. The donor gave him a bracelet. The 2 of you will have a relationship in the future. Xu Qian'an attached to the bandit said that the head was the Tao. But he didn't mention it. Isn't this a magic stick? Xu Qian'an asked. You're just like you're choosing me. Choose the other 7 people of the Heaven and Earth Society. Jin Lian's hands were slightly sweaty. Can I ask why? Lao Dao laughed for the first time. Can just listen to the next words of poor Dao. There is no way back for the benefactor. Xu Qian'an pondered for a long time. Weigh the pros and cons in your mind. Then nodded. Jin Lian opened his mouth and said everything that poor Dao had done. It's all about saving my brother. Doesn't the donor think it's strange? The benefits of the younger brother's cultivation of merit. Poor Dao, that purple lotus junior brother, wants to put you to death. Kill the death row inmate who traded in your place. This is completely contrary to the practice philosophy of the emperor's sect. Xu Qian'an felt a chill rise in his heart. Number 9 kills his own stand-in. He was unclear about the trading process. Wei Yuan didn't explain. I don't know until now that there's such a thing. Fortunately, the mind was not blinded by treasures and gold. I chose the most heartfelt way. This crisis has been spared. And faithfulness. Jin Lian continued. This matter is related to the secret heart of the emperor. The donor remembers not to spread the word. The younger brother of the sect is a demon. Affected almost everyone. There were only a small number of literati, including me, not affected by the Taoist. And the one who sheltered us was Uncle D. Su Won felt incredulous. Enter the demon brothers sect to cultivate merits. As the head of a faction, the Taoist sect, there must be immeasurable merit. Such people are enchanted. Is society so cold? Jin Lian Lao Dao, gazing at the flame of the candle in a trance. The look is gloomy, and the Tao is also meritorious. Defeat is also meritorious. Come out and mix. Be sure to have more vests. Su's wife will settle young Ling for a while. A moment will be under Chen Jingnan's. Jin Lian continued. When Dao Tianzuan founded the emperor, left a precept that there is no way to be blessed or mishaving. Call yourself to be a man. Retribution of good and evil. Wherever you go. Su's wife said with peace of mind. Speak human words, you. Jin Lian asked. The donor thinks that saving someone's life is not merit. Su wife asked rhetorically, isn't it? Jin Lian continued. What if you save a heinous person? He deserves to be damned. But because you came to your rescue, survived. Keep doing evil. Is this still a good deed? Xu Qian'an pondered for a moment. Human nature is changeable. Light and darkness are intertwined. Not because you've seen the darkness. Is cynical, disgusted with its light. I can't be before I save someone. Dig into the bottom of the matter to find out about other people's past. It's not realistic. The old Taoist priest looked at him appreciatively, laughing and saying that the donor can say this. I can really rest assured that I will entrust Uncle D to you. It is not wrong for ordinary people to practice this principle. But for us, this is the most terrible cause and effect. The deeper the merit accumulates, the heavier the cause and effect. Daoist has been doing good deeds and accumulating virtue all his life. But before Jiazi, he failed to cross the catastrophe. Causal backlash. Fallen into the devil's way. This is the principle that the so-called extreme of things must be reversed. I want to be on the right path with merit. You have to suffer the corresponding cause and effect. A thought becomes an immortal. A thought becomes a demon. This is every person from the Earth sect. Can't get rid of the fate. Su Qi's peace of mind was flooded with monstrous waves. It turns out that the Earth sect still has such a gravitational pull. That's when Confucianism comes into play. The so-called gentleman is in the middle. Going to extremes doesn't last long. Xu Qian'an suddenly thought of something. His face changed. If I have the same blessing as my brother, am I also in danger of falling into the devil? Xu Qian'an took the opportunity to find out the inside information. Heaven and man don't care. Whatever you say. The Daomen Golden Lotus Dan Dao Earth sect has the hidden danger of becoming a demon. Do you think that there are two sects of heaven and man who have made their debut? There are no similar hidden dangers. Besides, this is my brother's business. What to do with them? Let them be troubled. Su Qi had doubts in his heart. So what is the hidden danger of the two sects of heaven and man? Then he asked that Dao chief, the establishment of the heaven and earth society. What is the meaning? Golden Lotus Daoist Chen said. The killer clears the portal. Brother Zong Dao show. What a realm. Jin Lian slowly stretched out 2 fingers. Laughed at the second product. Su Qian'an heard this. So he took out the mirror. Lao Tzu is ironclad. It has never been revealed. Jin Lian smiled and said that the old Taoist has cultivated merit for decades. There is no big ability. but it's still very accurate to look at people. These 8 people in this heaven and earth society, including the donor. It will not be in the pool in the future. You are in all corners of the world. We will meet one day in the future. Join the heaven and earth society earlier. Forge incense. Save the future arrogance and competition. There were casualties. Xu Qian'an, who was originally a little resistant to joining the heaven and earth society. Suddenly I changed my mind. If it is really as the old Taoist priest said, all of them are talents. He is the pride of the sky. Then mix yourself in this circle. There will definitely be drawbacks. Xu Qian'an nodded. It's a default. The old Taoist priest continued, where there was a need for help. You can ask me for help through Uncle D. You can also ask other members for help through Uncle D. If they were in the capital, help each other. This is the purpose of the establishment of the Heaven and Earth Society. In addition, the holder of the Emperor Uncle is named after the Emperor Uncle's serial number. Jean Lien finished speaking. Make a puff of smoke and escape from the room. Nanas drift into the distance. 2 words flashed in Sue's wife's Anxing. At the moment, it seems, this master of the Emperor sect has no ill will towards me. But the Eagle Wall layout is far-reaching. You can never take it from the surface. See through their true demonization. He gave me a mirror. Borrow the hands of the Gung people. Deal with the same door. And then the fisherman profited. Be the biggest profiteer. This alone shows that Lao Dao is an eagle coin. But not afraid. Xu Qian'an has ample experience in this area. He had already figured out how to leave a way out for himself. The only one that can deal with eagle coins is eagle coins. This must only be Wei Yuan. Dad wants to mix in the capital. I had to hug this thigh. He picked up the fragment of the handbook. Consciousness is immersed in it. Chaos reigns again. In front of you is the world in the mirror. Sue's wife nodded sadly. It's kind of a friend. He wrote in the mirror with a pen and paper bag, "Hello, everyone. I'm a newcomer. Please look after me in the future." But after waiting for a long time, no one responded. It's a little awkward in the atmosphere. Xu Qian'an re-entered the information. Under Chen Jingnan. Please advise. Facing things you don't understand. Random speculation is the source of the shooting. Xu Qian'an spoke on the public screen with Chen Jingnan's vest. Number 6 is also a fool. I really replied to him. Brother Chen, I contacted the Taoist chief by handing over the letter. I learned about it from the head of the Golden Chain. Thank you for helping the Taoists to resolve this crisis. Xu Qian'an had a spring breeze on his face. Replied proudly that it was a trivial matter. Nothing to speak of. Number 6 is right. I guessed in my heart. On the 3rd of that day, I was talking with the Purple Lotus Taoist. Ignorance everywhere. The realm is obviously not high. However, it can help the Golden Lotus Dao Palm to kill the Purple Lotus. Recapture Uncle number 9. This number 3. He may not be strong in his own right, but the background is unfathomable. At this time, Su Xian saw the mirror. Sent a text message from another member. I haven't been following Uncle D's summons lately. What happened? A while ago, I took advantage of the fact that the Taoist guard was asleep. Secretly returned to the Emperor to do business. As a result, he was ambushed. Fled all the way to Dafeng capital to save his life. In order to avoid being pursued, the band mirror was given to Chen Jingnan's little brother. Xu Qian'an was a little angry. He could have dressed up as a she-male in the Heaven and Earth Society. Or maybe the world's masters didn't expect it. Jean Lien not only said her gender, he also hinted at his age. The 9th continued. Later, he got the help of Chen Jingnan's little brother. Killed Purple Lotus. Avoid this fate. Which Yaman is mixed up with number 3. Xu Qian'an was speechless. You are equivalent to a netizen asking for an address. I'll tell you there's a ghost. Xu Qian'an had a flash of inspiration. He replied in imitation of Su Erlang's tone. Yaman in the capital. It's just a bunch of guards who eat vegetarian food. The crowd saw the message. Speculation began. Number 3 seems to be very disdainful of the Yaman. The tone is a bit arrogant. There are only a few official forces in the capital. First of all, Renzong is excluded. Daoist Jinlian will not cooperate with Renzong. This tone is similar to the self-proclaimed group of Confucianism. The taste is very similar to that of a reading person with a high reading level. Number 2 replied. Number 1 is also in the capital. Maybe you two know each other. Number 1, I know. You're looking at your roommate in front of the mirror. Did you hear that number 1 was a little speechless? Can't you just let me play dead? Guiyue Tower in the inner city. Dead charlatans. 60 miles outside the East City. There are traces of high-grade realm battles. Number 2, has the bandits in Yunzhou subsided? Number 2 gritted his teeth. Xu Qian'an raised his eyebrows. It's kind of interesting. He smelled a smell of palace fighting dramas. Number 2 pulls number 1 into the water. At the same time, send him a message. Number 1, and you are in the capital. However, it is oneself of number 3. And don't know other people's information. Number 2 cannot disclose the information of number 1. Number 2 is clearly targeting number 1. And number 1 immediately retaliated with a tooth for a tooth. Throw out the message generously. Make your own channels. At the same time, it also fought back against number 2. The second continued to send messages. How could the bandits in Yunzhou be quelled? The Emperor of Daebong is a monkey without a brain. Chung Ri thinks about cultivating immortals. I don't know the suffering of the world. Xu Qian was embarrassed. That sounds. Number 2 should not be eating the imperial court. In previous years, it was not mentioned, but this year I checked. The household registration of all prefectures and counties in Yunzhou. Rough estimates. At least 60,000 people have fled and become displaced people. Or the grass is a coward. I exterminated more than a dozen bandits. Discover that there is a deeper force behind them. Do you have eyebrows? Nothing right. What is the situation in the capital recently? Zhou Shilang fell off the horse. Jingdo began. However, the fall of Zhou Shilang is quite absurd. The cause is that the only son is faint, attempting to defile the second daughter of the mighty Marquis. Xu Qian's words were a message to number 2. Show yourself to the crowd. At the same time, he is also testing number 1. Anyone who is qualified to participate in the court struggle knows it. The real reason for Zhou Shilang's downfall was the sleeping silver case. If the number 1 comes out to correct himself. However, apparently number 1 did not take the bait. Instead, it changed the subject. Golden Lotus Dao Chief. I've inquired for you. The exact time when the Yaxing Shui Palace of Yunlu Academy was banned. It's Kogo Day. That day, I was among the outsiders of Yunlu Academy. Except for the eldest princess. There is also a false example called Xu Qian. Xu Qi's head jumped. There is a sense of panic that someone has been doxxed and made public on the internet. What is the origin of this number 1? Why do you want to check the events of Jiazi Day? And why did Daoist Jin Lian care about the phone number of Yunlu Academy? It stands to reason. This is a matter of concern to the scholars of Guozijian. What does it have to do with you, an old Taoist priest of an earth sect? Number 1 continued. But that one is mediocre. In addition to the teacher, it is good. It's just refining the essence itself. Not a student of Yunlu Academy. Not even a reader. I know. Xu Qian made a tentative speech. Why did the Taoist change in Yunlu Academy? I wonder if Chung Yaxing's steel is cracked. Xu Qian was even more puzzled. It's important to ask. Have real people ever killed werewolves? Xu Qian is going through it. But he didn't panic at all. On the contrary, I still enjoy it. Jin Lian replied that it was quite heavy. I want Xu Qi to feel at ease in my abdomen. He cracked. Of course, I won't tell you about this olding disease. Xu Qian changed the subject. There's something I'd like to ask you. Do you say that the alchemist is Si Tian Sword's poison friend? Everyone saw Xu Qian's news. Another wave of speculation began. This question was asked by number 3. It almost ruled out his identity as a disciple for 4 days. Everyone became more and more sure that he was a scholar of Yunlu Academy. It is a student who is highly valued by the elders of the college. Otherwise, you can't invite a high-grade powerhouse to kill the Purple Lotus Daoist. And this is exactly what Xu Qian'an wants. As soon as these words came out, you'll think I'm a student of Yunlu Academy. But in fact, I'm a watchman. In the future, you will realize that I may be a watchman. I will also find out that I am really a student of Yunlu Academy. Or you will find out, I am the life mentor of the alchemists of the Sitian prison. This realistic version of werewolf killing. It's really fun. Number 6 replied, let me answer that question. 600 years ago, there was no warlock system. After the founding of the country, Tianjin just appeared a warlock. Xu Qian'an guessed. Other words, except for Tianjin, there are almost no wild alchemists. There should still be, just very little. Otherwise, I'll pull out a hard book. Alchemists should be weird. No wonder the alchemists. I was so demanding of my knowledge of chemistry theory. They're all very strong, because the history is short. So, there is no comprehensive set of theoretical foundations. Other than that, who is the alchemist behind the sleeping camp case? The alchemist involved in the case of the 4-day prison team. It seems to take a negative attitude. This is very unscientific. Number 6 continued. Number 3, follow the rules. You also have to answer me a question. Xu Qian'an was taken aback. However, this rule is still acquiesced. You ask. Number 6 asked, what is the name of the 2nd grade of Confucianism? Xu Qian'an. I want to test my social status again. Ordinary Confucian students. I don't know what the 2nd grade of Confucianism is called. The life of that Qian Zhongdaru at that time. It is also not elaborated in the Century Cup. His realm is after Xu Qian'an's explanation. Xu Qian'an only knew. The reason why Jiro knows. Because he is a student valued by the great Confucian Zhongxun. It's a lifter from Chu High School. This is already an elite level among the students of Yunlu Academy. If I am not a student of Yunlu Academy, this temptation is just as effective. Non-Confucian students also know the words of the 2nd grade. Social status will only be higher. If I can't answer, probably will be disliked by this group of guys. The level is not enough. Xu Qian'an wrote in a pen and paper. The 2nd grade of Confucianism is called Confucianism. It took a long time for the message to be sent. No one answered. No one double-clicked and liked. Not even the one urging the change. Xu Qian'an lay on the bed and waited for a long time. It was determined that this group of guys was offline. It's rude. A group of unqualified netizens. Xu Qian'an thinks differently. Passing the sect is a piece of money. The Heaven and Earth Society also appeared in Jiazi money. Among them, Heaven and Earth will be a relatively loose organization. Members are in contact with each other, but are on guard against each other. This is understandable. After all, they are scattered all over the world. It may not even be a person from the Dafeng dynasty. It's normal to be a little wary of each other. The benefits that can be seen at the moment are information sharing. Isn't this a chat platform? Is it good to chat online? In the future, there may be opportunities for offline machines. Number 2 is in Yunzhou. The status should not be low. Otherwise, how to check the household registration of each prefecture and county. Number 1 is also in the capital. It is a person who really has status and status. It's stronger than my kettle. It's also the most important thing I should be guarding against. Before the 6th, he warned me not to respond. Number 9 said that he was also in the capital. Number 1 and number 6 are the next ones I'm going to be on. Other members, separated by thousands of mountains and rivers. Even if they know who they are, it's not a big problem either, because of the lack of conflict of interest. As for the rest, number 4578 is not online for the time being. Xu Qian'an suddenly became interested. This werewolf killing is kind of interesting. Great Phoenix Lingbao Temple. Since Renzong Daomori was canonized as a national office. The base camp was moved to the imperial city. Today, the saint is a human being. A magnificent gym was built. Ling Bao was locked outside. Wei Yuan came here under the guidance of Dao Tong. After Dao Tong left, Wei Yuan knocked on the door with his fingers. A cold voice came from inside. Duke Wei came. It's so small that it's honestly scary. The sarcasm in Wei Yuan's conversation was unconcerned. Cross the threshold and enter the house. Got the god of wealth in the temple. The color is cold and indifferent. What happened? The woman behind the screen, the national teacher, said lightly, Duke Wei knows astronomy. Learn about geography. Why ask the trail? Wei Yuan was helpless. It's nothing more than scolding you back then. Only women and villains are difficult to raise. Why is it so jealous that it is still alive? The man behind the screen was silent. Wei Yuan continued. The light lighter holds a fragment of a handing book. Do you want it? That's the stuff of the sect. Wei Yuan sweated his hands. Then he turned and walked away. Out of the leader. Wei Yuan got into the carriage waiting outside the door. Yang Yin asked his father-in-law, Did you find out the news? Wei Yuan shook his head. The woman was reluctant to say. But something must have happened to Emperor Zong. Natural disasters have occurred frequently in recent years. Man-made disasters are everywhere. Dafeng's qi is wrong. The major cultivation systems have also exposed problems one after another. I always felt like something was going to happen. Yang Yin frowned, and his father-in-law was too worried. On that day, we went to the 4-day inspection and supervision certificate. Say that everything is normal in the sky. Wei Yuan sighed. The words of those who spy on the heavens are the most unbelievable. Find out the current situation of the emperor at all costs. Yang Yindao Emperor's sect has always been low-key. The dragon sees the head, but does not see the end. For the light of the abyss, the light suddenly chilled me. Said at all costs. It is rare to see such a solemn and serious posture. Yang Yin bowed her head. Sweaty hands are outwardly presented. Su Fully Zayadouting held a withered branch in his hand. Riding on his short legs, he chased a group of people as young as him. I saw my eldest brother coming over. Immediately said proudly, Big brother. Big brother, I'm already invincible in my peers. Xu Qian'an looked at him. Stupid to be invincible. Xiao Doubting looked proud and said proudly, Not stupid and invincible. It's invincible. My sister said that there is a child as old as me in the house. No one can beat me. I'm the best. Xu Qian'an gave him a thumbs up. Because you are the only one in the house. I didn't lie to you. Xiao Doubting is happy. Pull the big brother. I went to breakfast with the steps that my 6 relatives didn't recognize. At the table, the aunt was elegantly eating breakfast. Say casually, sir. Lin Yu seems to have reached the age of leaving the cabinet. Su Lin Yue immediately blew up her mother. I don't want to get married yet. Andy's beautiful eyes are horizontal. Reprimanded. It's not a question of whether you want to or not. Su Lin Yue was not convinced. Looked at Su New Year on the side. The second brother of Dao has not yet married his sister-in-law. Annie has her own reasons. Said that your second brother is going to get married. I have to wait for the spring siege. Now make your marriage final. Su Shuchen nodded. Lin Yu has indeed reached the age of getting married. Time flies. Grown up in a blink of an eye. Immersed in the food of the little bean Ding Wenyin. I remembered what my eldest brother said to me. So he raised his humble little face. Yelled that my sister had grown up. My sister is a troublemaker. Su Qian's scalp was numb. Immediately covered Xiao Doubting's mouth. Forcibly diverted the topic from Lin Yu. Even if you want to get married, I also have to marry a good husband like my eldest brother. After speaking, he silently picked up a meat bun. Gagged Beending's mouth. Then he said, Annie, it's because I married a second uncle who is as good as me. In order to live a life of wearing gold and silver. Annie couldn't argue with that. The sentence can only hum and chirp. The second uncle immediately became energetic when he heard this. Xu Qian'an proudly announced that he would start tomorrow. I have to go back to Yinlu Academy to prepare for the end of autumn. After speaking, her eyes swept the crowd calmly. It was as if waiting for everyone's reaction. Just except for the aunt. Nobody birds her. The aunt immediately sandwiched the meat bun and gave her son a New Year's greeting. Only then did he nod his head in satisfaction. Then, Xu Qian heard the girl's aggrieved voice behind him. "Big brother, I don't want to get married." Xu Qian grinned and turned back. "I had a conversation with my uncle and my second uncle. Family matters. When it's your mother's turn to be a woman's family." The aunt who happened to be passing by immediately blew up. "Little bastard, you repeat what you just said. As the saying goes, leaning back against a big tree is good for enjoying the shade." Xu Qian only joined the Heaven and Earth Club last night. As soon as he woke up the next day, he sold them to Daddy Wei to exchange the ball for the protection of the thighs. It's a gas drain for the yamen. Xu Qian is here again. It's just that the two doormen looked at him a little strangely. Because of the ordinary gongs, he is not qualified to report things to the Duke of Wei, and on their heads were silver and golden gongs. And the Duke of Wei will not summon the gong. But this newcomer to the gong was treated completely differently. "Come with him." Duke Wei summoned him. "Ascend to the 7th floor." Xu Qian saw the Qingyi standing in the observation hall. Wei Yuan said lightly, "What happened this time?" "The purpose of Xu Qian's here. It's about confessing everything last night. There are watchmen sitting on the backer. There are Wei Yuan's thighs to hold. There's no need to place an order in private. Both reduce the risk. Can also win the trust of Dad Wei." Xu Qian arched his hand last night. The Golden Lotus Dao elder of the Earth sect came to the door. "He didn't hurt me. I didn't take back the book from the ground. Instead, he invited me to join the Heaven and Earth Society." Wei Yuan was stunned when he heard this. Heaven and Earth will allow Qi to be secretly happy in his heart. It seems that Dad is very interested in his information this time. Fun Xu Qian went on to say that he was the initiator of the Heaven and Earth Society. It was the Golden Lotus Taoist of the Emperor's sect. There are 9 core members in total. At the same time, he is also the holder of the Emperor's Shard. They are codenamed by the fragment serial number. Don't show people by their real names. At present, it is only known that number 1 is in the capital, backed by a small force. Number 2 is keen on suppressing bandits in Yunzhou, someone suspected of being from the imperial court. Wei Yuan asked, "What else did Jin Lian tell you?" Xu Qian replied truthfully. He said there was something wrong with the emperor. He's going to clean the portal. Hence the establishment of the Heaven and Earth Society. Wei Yuan was slightly startled. "You talk carefully." Xu wife and said in a deep voice, "The Daoist hand of the Earth sect has fallen into a demon. It affected almost all the people of the Earth sect. Only a few remained awake. Escape from the sect. This is because there is the shelter of the book from the ground. So he formed the Heaven and Earth Society. Fragments of the book from the ground, bestowed upon the proud sons of heaven scattered all over the world. Support them, in order to get an assistant when cleaning up the portal in the future." Wei Yuan's elegant and handsome face was expressionless. "It's enchanted. No wonder Zillion has become eerie." Then he asked with the meaning of teaching, "You feel like Jin Lian is telling you why?" Xu Qian just wanted to say that he didn't know. I could hear the teaching in his tone. He swallowed his words. With Wei Yuan's old scheming. Certainly not looking for answers from me. He's testing his level. Xu Qian's brain suddenly became active, laughing at the abnormality of the Emperor's sect. All the members of the Heaven and Earth Society are clear. The Golden Lotus Daoist told the truth. It's showing me sincerity. For the wrongdoers, the Emperor's whereabouts are hidden. The Light Lighter still doesn't know. The inside story of the younger brother's hand into the demon. Xu Qian opened his eyes wide, and Wei Gong met. Jin Lian Dao uses me as a medium. I want to make an alliance with you secretly. Wei Yuan nodded with satisfaction. There was no answer, but after the mildness, you are the Daoist of the lantern maker in heaven and earth, responsible for finding out others, the true identity of the member. When necessary, the Yama will give you some help. Xu Qian'an responded with a fist. I couldn't help but be secretly surprised. If only I had been sluggish just now. The Wei Guild will not accept the Emperor to atone for his sins. Replace yourself with a brilliant subordinate. Dive into the world. It will be 2 or 5 years. The temptation of the big man is like a breeze sweeping away. If you're not careful, you can make mistakes. Leakage is an injustice. You're already a Qi refining sword. It's time to try your hand at cultivating. Let's go to the scripture pavilion and pick one. Do you use a knife or a sword? Xu Qian'an replied, very simply knife. When Wei Yuan mentioned the knife and chose the peerless school. Remember to pick simple and pure. Don't be overly complicated and fancy. Warriors are different from other systems. There isn't much of a supernatural. There is only strange power. Therefore, the purer the warrior, the better. In the future, you will step into the realm of high quality. You will understand this truth. Xu Qian'an was overjoyed. Xia Weigong pointed. After getting Wei Gong's surgery, Xu Qian'an withdrew from Haoqi building in a hurry. While being happy, I can't help but sigh. If you can get Wei Yuan's appreciation and recognition, your career in martial arts will benefit you a lot. I want to become such a force boss in the future. In the pavilion of the scriptures, Xu Qian'an handed over the handwritten letter of Duke Wei to the Yuan. Li Yuchen, who was on the side, couldn't help but say with envy, when did you hug Wei Gong's big, thick legs? Xu Qian'an turned around and smiled. The Tao was summoned by Duke Wei on his own initiative. Li Yuchen was a little surprised. The Wei Guild took the initiative to summon the Gong. But Su Ningyan's fake qualifications were self-assessed by Wei Gongqing. It is normal for him to cultivate intentionally. Come to think of it, Li Yuchen couldn't help but shudder. It's worthy of a large portion of the Gong under my hand. Major systems of practice. Only Takefu is the purest. It can be used as a pure mastery. Met a person who is not pure. And what happens? Li Yuan led them to a bookshelf. There are a total of 407 Dao scores. It's all here. Xu Qian'an looked at the dazzling array of knives in front of him. It was also slightly shocked. I couldn't even decide for a while. It is enough to pick which one. Okay, he turned his head to look at Li Yuchen. It's just that Li Yuchen preempted him before he spoke. Said lightly, do you want to ask me which knife technique is the strongest? There are 2 types of absolute credits. One is technology. One is the Tao. Don't think about the latter. There is no strong or weak former. Just looking at people, Xu Qian'an nodded. Just such an hour passed. Li Yuchen was a little impatient. There is no satisfied Xu Qian'an. I was secretly anxious. Had I forgot to tell you, I have a phobia of choice. Li Yuchen recruited Li Yuan. I asked if there were any new out-of-the-mill schools that had been added to the library recently. I'm referring to the knife spectrum. Li Yuan said, some. The Four Heavens Sword sent a few peerless schools a few days ago. Exchanged a few thousand taels of silver. A smile appeared on Li Yuchen's face. Su Ningyan, you're in luck. A few thousand taels of silver. The quality is better than the inside. I guess there's a fragment of a certain sword technique. Xu Qian'an was a little surprised. Fragments of the word possess the mastery of Taoism. It is usually created by high-frequency martial artists. It contains their lifelong martial arts insights. I want to become Takeo Takahira. This kind of learning can't be touched, because that's the way of men. But the fragments can be learned. Li Yuchen instructed Kurihara. You go and find it. Soon after, Kurihara came over with a few masteries. One of them, it's really a crippled sword path, peerless world. Su Qi was relieved to be a bandit. The person who took this name, not Form 2. It's paranoia. He flipped through the thin book. Opening preface. Nothing in the world is cut at once. If anything, my suggestion is to run away. Xu Qian'an resisted the urge to throw away the secret book. Patiently turn it over. The second year. Anything in the world can be cut with a single sword, including the enemies of heaven and earth. The same is true. Any superfluous moves and fights. It's all a humiliation of the sword. I'm only going to make one cut. Either you die or I die. Xu Qian'an silently read the program. In my heart, I rewrote the preface to this mastery. Concentrate a little. Get to the top of the ladder. Xu wife and decisively chose him. It's getting cooler at night. Flowers fall to the ground into frost. Then, Song Ting Feng said lightly that the inspection interface was a matter of encountering a bit. We're mostly in charge of the cornice walking guys. Only go up to the roof when looking out, unless you encounter a big case. Otherwise, don't fly the eaves and walk on the wall. The water in the capital is deep. There are countless masters in the open and in the dark. If you walk around the roof, I don't know which horn will fly an arrow. Kill you. Of course, the lantern lighter will definitely avenge you and collect the corpse. And the payment of bereavement pensions. Su's wife asked how much the pension was. Song Ting Feng said that the gong was 300 taels of silver. Quitte conscience. 300 taels of silver is enough for a wife and children to live a rich life. Su's wife was speechless. 300 taels of silver. Now I can only sleep 5 times with the blessing of skyrocketing prices. Then he quipped, yes. And then your wife is to be married. Other men spend your money. Sleep your daughter-in-law. Also beat your son. Nicholas Song was scared for a long time, only to hold back a sentence. I was glad I hadn't started a family yet. Then he looked at Su Wifen. Asked Akihiko, what is your mastery? What are the characteristics? Xu Qian'an smiled awkwardly. My mastery is very practical. More explosiveness. But it just doesn't last long. After a slash, I will enter a short period of weakness. I added this sentence at the beginning of this mastery. It's a golden word. The essence is a real man for a second. Collapse after chopping. But the good thing is that it's explosive. Maybe if you practice to a high depth, you can cross the line. Calmly thought about it. Xu Qian'an buckled a few times on the mirror of handing over the book. Take out a book that is not thick from inside. A bad taste suddenly rose in my heart. The book is. It's noon today. Xu Qian'an was entrusted by the great Confucian to teach him. This book records the mastery of the major systems of practice. The 3 great Confucians collected the spells they had collected, pieced together. Xu Qian'an took the book beautifully. The air was clearly filled with the sour smell from my cousin. Xu Qian'an is not happy with the Confucian 6 qualities teaching. The core of the realm of Confucianism is learning. Can copy the pen end of the spell that you have seen. Write it down on paper. The eldest brother took the opportunity to ignite the paper, to cast spells recorded on paper. Xu Qi's heart blossomed, said that he would pass the word to the 3 Confucians for his brother. I'll come to thank you another day. By the way, discuss poetry with them. Xu Qian'an couldn't help but sigh. Confucianism is simply invincible. However, it is the so-called exchange of courtesies. The 3 great Confucians gave gifts for no reason. Naturally, there is a reason. At this time, Xu Qian'an directly put this cousin who didn't want Billy in. Kicked out. Xu Qian'an didn't care. Don't be jealous. Big brother still loves you. As the saying goes, it's good. If you don't die, you won't die. But Xu Qian'an, who didn't die for a day, was uncomfortable. He tore a page from the book. Hold it in your hand and ignite it with a gas engine. Suddenly, the unique chi-forgetting technique of the Tianjin surgery room was made out by Xu Qian'an. Xu Qian'an felt a pain in his eyes. A variety of colors appeared in my sight. The whole world seems to be transformed into an oil painting with heavy colors. The most abundant and densest in white. This is followed by red. After that comes purple, A mist arose in Xu Qian's heart. It turns out that this is Qi, the Qi of all things in heaven and earth. This led him to see a strange color. The location is in the direction of the imperial city. It was a rainbow of colors. This Qi is colorful. It is completely different from the purple Qi that represents the royal family. But it appeared in the imperial city. Daoist Jean Lien said, I rode with the one in the royal carriage. Women will have a relationship. And the Taoist chief's evaluation of the woman was, the weather is magnificent, rare in the world. At this time, he saw a clear breath again, also in the direction of the imperial city. I remember Kai Wei said, Qing Qi represents Confucianism or Taoism. That should be the deed that the Runzong has in hand. Then Xu Qian looked at the teaching division. Discover how the color of the workshop division is turquoise. Many of the women in the church division are family members of criminal ministers. I guess I'm thinking too much. Go back and ask Kai Wei again. What does the green light mean? Just the next moment, the green light was gone. Finally, he looked at Si Tianjian. He was curious about what color Si Tianjian was, just waiting for him to look past the next moment. Xu Qian suddenly screamed, fell off the roof. He rolled on the floor in pain, covering his eyes and screaming constantly. Zhu Guangxiao and Song Nicholas shouted. One man drew his sword and was on guard. One person stepped forward to check. Xu Qian's eyes burned. At the same time, I complained frantically that my dog was going blind. I'm going blind with my titanium dog's eyes. Song Tingfeng said eagerly, What did you do just now? Xu Qian covered his eyes, wailing and saying that my cousin is a student of Yinlu Academy. Today, he gave me a piece of paper with a description of the forgetfulness technique. Then I looked at Si Tianjian with the forgetting technique. The two heard this. Look at each other. I can't stand this idiot. Nicholas Song said, Do you know? The governor loved the gossip of staying in the stargazing tower. On the stage, Xu Qian shook his head. Nicholas Song continued, Do you know that? The pinnacle of the warlock system is our supervisor. Xu Qian nodded this time. Song Tingfeng said again, Then you use the forgetfulness technique to watch the supervisor. Isn't this looking for death? Xu Qian is embarrassed, and he really doesn't know this. Zhu Guangxiao also sighed. The warlocks of the Four Heavenly Sword and the Watchmen are in frequent contact. After slowly gaining experience, you'll see. Suddenly the sky in the east. A red light suddenly rose. Song Tingfeng and Zhu Guangxiao drew their knives tacitly. Xu Qian, who had just regained his sight, asked what was going on. Nicholas Song Chun said that the red light was a warning to us. It is usually used in the context of manhunt and seizure. It may be that the watchman of which group has discovered the suspicious character. But he fled. The red light was very close to us. Ning Yin, your eyes haven't recovered yet. Let's be in charge of the unmasking patrol, laughing at us on the rooftop to look out. Then the two of them performed light work. Each went in one direction. They had just left. Another man came to the roof. He asked in a deep voice why you were the only one here. What about the other two? Xu Qian explained. Ask what happened. That Gong Chun, Xingping Yuanbo was killed. Two colleagues in charge of the area were wounded. The thief escaped with a secret technique. Disappeared for the time being. Xu Qian was taken aback. The count was killed. The gong flew away after speaking. Xu Qian pondered. Although the power of the nobles of the Daebong dynasty is now declining. But an earl is an earl after all. There must also be masters in the house. And the Han was able to kill the count. And wounded and beaten more people. Take it in stride. Obviously not your average master. If only once you meet it head-on. It's definitely hard to save a small life. But with the physique of his own European emperor, it shouldn't be so unlucky. At this time, a scheming came. Xu Qian knew that this was a message from the book. I couldn't help but curse in my heart. Which guy doesn't sleep in the middle of the night? Fried group, Xu Qian'an took out the book and looked at it. It was found to be a message from the 6th. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm in trouble in the capital. Can you help? Golden Lotus Road is back for a long time. What trouble are you in? I'm stuck in the inner city, facing the search and arrest of the watchman. Up to 1 hour. The warlock of Xu Qian'an's sword will arrive. When the time comes, I will not be able to escape. Xu Qian'an saw this information. I was stunned for a moment. Then I instantly thought of the killing of Uncle Ping Yuan. Number 6 is the murderer. The 12th sent a message to try to break out by force. No, it's too far from the city gate. Along the way, there are watchmen and royal sword guards patrolling. And in addition to the inner city, there is also an outer city. Is there a magic weapon on the body that conceals the breath? There is no poor road, but there is. It just can't be delivered to you. The Taoist chief is relieved. If I can't escape this, I'll leave Uncle D where he is. You'll be able to find it tomorrow by following your breath. Number 2 said angrily, don't say anything sad about a dead bald donkey. Xu Qian'an pondered. In the capital, he wanted to escape the search of the watchman. It's almost impossible. That's when a new character comes in. Number 4 spoke. I have some friendship with the Taoist hand of Renzhou. It's just that the Lingbao Hall is in the imperial city. Monk, I can't help you. Number 2 Air Rush Road. Isn't that the equivalent of not saying it? Xu Qian'an silently spied and commented. Number 4 has a relationship with a female countryman. Daoist Jin Lian didn't lie. The holders of the handover are not ordinary people. Number 2 tube number 6 is called a bald donkey. Number 4 tube number 6 is called a monk. So number 6 is a person from the Buddha gate. The younger uncles are all on their own defenses. But it does have a gang of incense. Number 2 sent a message again, bald donkey. You go and ask number 1. He is from the capital. He should be peeping at the screen again. See number 2 take out yourself. Number 1 is no longer silent. What did you do? I killed Uncle Ping Yuan. Xu Qian'an was shocked. Sure enough, it was him. Number 6 admitted it so quickly. It's too upright, isn't it? That day I asked him if he was a member of the Heaven and Earth Society. He didn't hesitate to admit it. It's really a monk who doesn't speak. But monks don't commit murder. You went to Uncle Ping Yuan's house in the middle of the night. There are several meanings of slaughtering people. After a long time, number 1 replied sorry. I can't help you. At this time, Jin Lian sent a message that number 1 was with him. Heaven and earth will. If you can help, you can help. Poor Dao believes that number 6 will not kill for no reason. After Xu Qian'an saw the news, lost in thought, the meaning of the words of the Golden Lotus Dao Chief. He thinks number 1 has the ability to help number 6. Even if there is a blockade of Shohido and Mikengard, and the warlock of the Xu Qian'an sword, he still thinks that number 1 can help number 6. Also, the old coin was the only one who knew the identity of everyone. Number 1's status may be higher than I expected. Number 6 killed Uncle Ping Yuan, so number 1 is reluctant to help number 6. Number 2 is a warm-hearted one, at least on the surface. Number 6 is a member of the Buddhist gate, very upright and doesn't lie. Number 4 has a friendship with the Taoist hand of the human sect. Identity unknown. Number 9 is the head of the Golden Lotus Road. Number 1 is a person from the imperial court. Love the peep. The status is very high. This werewolf killing is quite interesting. Xu Qian'an suddenly had a bad taste. I'll pretend to be a 13 too. No, it's a narrow victory in front of people. Xu Qian'an used a ghostwriter to enter information number 6. I can consider helping you, but I have to know why you killed Uncle Ping Yuan first. You cannot answer and refuse my kindness. But don't lie. If number 6 is a wicked person, Xu Qian'an threw him out. Reduce the lives of wolves in the Heaven and Earth Society. Before that, of course, he had to trick himself into finding number SIX's hideout first. Guaranteed to avoid future troubles. Yichuang Yuanbo Mansion kills. It also hit the Gung people hard. Then calmly hide. This is definitely a master of the middle grade. Even stronger. If there is a reason, I will help as much as I can. The Wulongs of the Heaven and Earth Society saw Xu Qian's speech. Strange surprise, 3 can help. So speculation began. He can be hunted by the Lantern Bearer and the Imperial Sword Guard. Do you take number 6 calmly? What is his identity? Is it just a disciple of Confucianism? This time, if there is no reasonable status, even walking in the inner city, they will also be arrested on the spot. Or rather, he can put the Phantom Jade in place. Or hit the more people. After a moment, Jean Lien spoke. If number 3 was willing to help, then no problem. On the 6th, you don't hide it. Wulong has open one. Wave guessing. The Golden Lotus Daoist is sure that number 3 can help number 6 resolve the crisis. Number 3 is no ordinary Confucian disciple. He must have a more secretive and higher level of identity. The newcomers recruited by the Golden Lotus Daoist this time are not trivial. Traffickers, both in reality and in comics. It's all the same damn dog thing. I hope you have encountered this kind of scum in the world. Please fight to the death. Number 6 said, one of my junior brothers is missing. Disappeared for a year. I suspect he was trafficked. It was sent out of the capital through secret channels. After many investigations, I've locked down a Yangtze organization. They specialize in abducting and plundering women and children, sold to Qing Lu and the beggars, and other places where women and children are needed. They don't just sell children and women. He also abducted the practitioners. I haven't found out what it's really used for. Finally, I found out. The owner behind that Yangtze organization is Pinjiwanbo. I infiltrated Pinjiwanbo's mansion. Ask about the whereabouts of the junior brother. If nothing happens, they will be killed. Transcendent sins. Number 1 wondered, Eli had done his wrong. Why didn't you report to the official? Number 2 instinctively scolds nonsense. If the law is useful, Uncle Pingyuan has already been sanctioned. At court, one hand will wash the other. There is no God in the head. Justice is only in the sword. Sue's wife said with peace of mind that this is an angry young man. In fact, it can be reported. Ping Yuan was. It is unwise to kill. But it can be inferred from this. Number 6 is a straightforward character. Even reckless and impulsive. Guy who likes to convince people. Number 6 continued. I have a reason. I rescued many children in 1 year. Some of them had their hands and feet cut off, creeping on the side of the road and begging. The clever ones are trained to be thieves. And the most outrageous thing is, I once rescued a child. The palms of his hands and feet were cut off. Boil the skin in boiling water. Then wrap yourself in black dog skin. After the injury healed, the dog skin was born into the child. Yako disguised him as a black dog. Teach a few more words to please good fortune. To please the unknown. The people of love beg for money. Number 1 was shocked. That's true. But he knew that number 6 was a monk. It's impossible to lie. But the information given by number 6 made him unable to calm down for a long time. Xu Qian's anger was also stimulated. You managed to convince me. Although I hate it when the 5 husbands do everything they can. Do things without using your brain. But I'm still willing to help you. Number 2 teased. I'm kind of identified with number 3 now. Number 4 praised. Temperamental man. Free time for drinks together. Number 6 recited the Buddha. Number of replies. Xu Qian asked, where are you hiding? Number 6 immediately replied to the canal outside Pinjiwanbo. I understand. You wait for my news. Xu Qian took back the bathroom path. Now here's the problem. How can we help number 6 survive this crisis? Take people out of the inner city. He couldn't. Along the way, there are people who meet bits and fight more people. I'm only in the precinct I patrol. Open your eyes and close your eyes. Press for time. Gotta think of a foolproof solution. Otherwise, wait until the sword guards and watchmen block the surroundings. investigate layer by layer. At that time, there was really no power to return to the sky. I want to save number 6. You have to hide from the warlock who beats the guard and see Tianjin at the same time. Xu Qian'an has to do 2 things. One is to help number 6 find a place to hide. The second is to help him cover his breath. The former is not difficult. Just deal with it tonight. Tomorrow morning on the 6th, you can disguise yourself as an ordinary person and leave the city on your own, with the status of Ping Yuanbua. Not so much that the gates of the inner city are kept closed. When the day dawns, the gates must be opened. The difficulty is how to mask the breath of number 6. After killing someone, it is inevitable that you will be contaminated with anger. This is definitely not hidden from the heavenly warlock. I hope that Chishu will have another PY deal with Songqin. No, I haven't paid for the last PY transaction. The periodic table to the present. I haven't sent it to see Tianjin yet. And Songqin is as ironclad as me. It's a bit hard to get him to help with this kind of thing, unless I take Chu Kai. Wei, that little beauty, fell asleep. The man received the handbook. Although you can receive a book, but none of the members of the Heaven and Earth Society mentioned this stubble. Xu Qian'an guessed that the aura could not be concealed. Will be found by the forgetfulness technique. Now there's only one last option. He pulled out the booklet. Tear off the page with a page of accounts written on it. 1 page of accounts. It allows the caster to conceal his body and aura. Achieve the effect of erasing existence. Then Xu Qian'an came to the Qinshu Inn. He flew to the ridge on tiptoe. Listened to the window. There was no movement inside. It should be an empty room. He used the matching little by little to pry open the latches of the windows, and so on to open the window completely. The first step is complete. Then, he rushed towards the Pinjiwambo mansion, which was not far from him. After a while, they were in front of the door. He stood on the ridge across the street and looked out for a while. Found the canal. Xu Qian'an pulled out the arrows in the cowhide bag on his waist. Tie the torn paper to the arrow. Throw it hard. The arrow was nailed to the earthen wall by the canal. At the same time, number 6 was also taken aback. Xu Qian'an hurriedly took out a small jade mirror. Deliver message number 6. The earthen wall by the aqueduct where you are hiding. There was an arrow. They're all you need on it. I prepared a room at the Qinshu Inn on the street. The 6th window on the 2nd floor is open. Hurry up and go. Number 6 immediately stepped forward and pulled out the swordsman. The 6th of the Tianhui was officially unveiled. Is really a bitter and bitter Lu Jishin. He pulled out the swordsman that Xu Qian'an shot in. Unfold the paper on it and look at it. There is a page of accounts written on it. Peng Yuan seemed to have figured out something. There was a sense of relief on his face. Number 3 is indeed a Confucian student. He immediately set the paper on fire. An inexplicable force enveloped him, restrained his breath. This ability to restrain the breath. Large bald head with constricted pupils. Shocked. Of color. This is not something that can be achieved by the ordinary 5-grade virtue realm. At least a 4-grade gentleman's realm. Number 3's identity can be wrong. Not only Confucian disciples. And he was also a student who was favored by a certain Confucian. Daoist Jean Lien said, each holder of the book fragment. They are all the pride of the sky. I can't afford to do it all. Hengyan slashed the surface of the water. In an instant, the whole person flew out of the sewer. He had to get out of here. Delay any longer. It is dangerous for the master of the lantern maker to gather here. Then he saw the ridge of the roof facing the street. There stood a straight, young man, wearing a watchman's suit, one-handed hidden knife. Look ahead in the night breeze. Heng Yuan can't help but feel the artistic conception in his heart. This gong is restrained and deep. Extraordinary. The watchman is really full of talents. He looked for the words of number 3. Found a relative. The 6th window of the inn was indeed open. The big bald head jumped lightly. Enter the room silently. Immediately after that, the window and door were shut. Xu Qian'an let out a sigh of relief. No more pose. Although I know that number 6 is a disciple of Buddhism, I don't think it's going to be a girl. But after meeting the real person, I was still a little disappointed. Number 9 is the old silver coin of Jin Lian. Number 6 is a bitter and hateful Lu Zhishan. Several other netizens should always have beautiful girls. Then, dozens of black shadows appeared in Xu Qian's sight. Paint on the ridge up and down. Rush this way. Xu Qian squinted. The investigation of the watchman has come. Let's get through this. The 6th is safe. Jin Luojiang, the leader of the team, asked. After the murder kills, the breath must be stained with blood. A few of them found no anomalies. Si Tianjin's white-clothed people replied none. Jiang Luzhong's expression paused. In the end, I chose to endure it. At this time, a white-clothed person saw Xu Qian's figure. Then the ecstasy was Xu Tiankai. Hurry down after a while. They all came to Xu Qi's body. Bian Jiang Luzhong secretly glanced at Xu Qian. The enemy may be hiding nearby. Attack at any time, and this gong didn't even pull out the knife. Professionalism is evident. Just the next scene directly surprised him. Saw these white-clothed men who were so proud in front of him that they were boundless. They all walked in front of Xu Qian, an expression on the face of an idol when he sees it. What's going on? A white-clothed man said excitedly, Su Gongzi. It's been a long time since you've been to Sitian. Senior brother Song Qing has been talking about you. Xu Qian smiled reservedly. I'm trying to ask me for a debt. Bai Yi then said Su Gongzi. Another day, you must come to see Tianjin for tea. We would also like to ask you about alchemy. Zhang Luzhong was a little confused. Ask him for alchemy. The Si Tian supervisor warlock, who has always been proud to look down on martial artists, was so respectful to a gong. Xu Qian waved his hand and said another day. Now the case is important. It's a few troubles. A few white-clothed people turned around. It was much more polite to the fight. Without further ado, let's move on. Zhang Luzhong and the watchman around him was shown off by this wave of operations. Then he said that he left a few people to check the street. The rest of me followed. Then, the white-clothed people were beaten again and ran around on their backs. At this time, a gong couldn't help but be curious. Ask. Our colleague knows you. Bai Yi lamented that we knew him. He may not know us. Su Gongzi is a super genius in the field of alchemy. The blue book he wrote was classified as a first-class secret by Senior Brother Song. Ordinary disciples can't see it if they want to. Senior Brother Song Qing, you've heard of it. Mr. Kanamasa said. He is a once-in-a-century genius of alchemy. But you know, what is a sentence that Senior Brother Song often says recently? Su Ningyin is really untaught. The gongs were shocked when they heard this. At this time, Zhang Luzhong opened his mouth and explained. Let's go and ask who the gong is from. Give me someone to come. Nicholas Song, after meeting with Xu Qian. Chun Xingdao's imperial sword position has been blocked. We have to strictly investigate the surroundings. At this time, I happened to walk to the side of the light inn. Xu Qian's eyes flashed slightly. Dao Ai, Ting Feng, and Guang Shao searched from this inn. It doesn't make sense for you to go elsewhere and check on a few of your colleagues. Raid hotel rounds. It's really Xu Qian's last life. It is usually the case that you will go to the ward after receiving a report call. And the reason for the report. It is often those young ladies whose acting skills are too exaggerated. I don't feel a toothpick. I'm going to shout a mace-like scream. It makes the tenant next door unable to sleep. Angry and report. Xu Qian stepped forward and knocked frantically on the door. After waking up the little two inside, Sleepy-eyed came over and opened the door. The shopkeeper just wanted to have a seizure, but he was stunned by the scene in front of him. A moment later, the shopkeeper stammered and said a few bad masters. Can I help you? Su's wife shouted angrily. Surprise rounds. The shopkeeper was still a little confused. Nicholas Song said about searching for criminals. The shopkeeper welcomed people in. 3 people in a room to find over. When I got to the 6th room on the 2nd floor, Song Tingfeng wondered why this room was locked. There is no one living here. Check whether you live there or not. The shopkeeper took out the key and opened the door. Xu Qian'an was taken aback. This is the hiding place of number 6. You're going to have to hide from me, Big Bald. Just waiting for them to go in. The room was empty. Xu Qian'an breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that the number 6 is not stupid. Although there was a night when the accounts deepened. But if something in the room is moved, the shopkeeper will feel strange. That must not be able to hide the delicate Nicholas song. And silently observing Zhu Guangxiao, who doesn't like to talk. The search by the trio was fruitless. I had to leave the inn. Xu Qian'an found an excuse to get into trouble. Feng Lai does not leave at the inn. Lu Song Tingfeng and Zhu Guangxiao each went door to door to investigate. Xu Qian'an found out the jade path. The lantern bearer entered the inn. Didn't find out. Moments later, the 6th replied. I hid on the beams. Didn't move anything in the house. Xu Qian'an complained in his heart. The old wanted man is out. Number 2 asked, what is the situation now? Number 6, are you safe? There was no news for half a day. I didn't even dare ask. Heng Yuan replied, it's safe for now. How did you get saved? Heng Yuan did not reply in a hurry. Instead, he asked Xu Qian'an, Number 3, can I say that? The gentleman is frank. Why not? But number 2, if you want to know. Equivalent intelligence is required in exchange. My history of the 10,000 Demon Kingdom and the remnants of the 10,000 Demon Kingdom are very interested. Xiao Shermine case. It is suspected that the remnants of the 10,000 Demon Kingdom are plotting in secret. I have to help Brother Chun myself. Try to look into the case. Number 2 was a little helpless. I don't know much about the history of the 10,000 Demon Kingdom. At this time, a new mission emerged. I know the history of the 10,000 Demon Kingdom. The corners of Xu Qian's mouth were raised. Okay. Group chats are meant to be lively. This allows messages to be shared. It is currently bubbling up the number 12456, as well as the number 9 Golden Lotus Old Silver Coin and himself. This number 3. Only number 7 and number 8 are missing. Heng Yuan input information. Number 3 gave me a page. It records the magic of Confucianism to conceal the breath. That's how I can get out of the water. Number 2 wondered, you've made it out of the inner city. No, number 3 had a room for me. Spells have hidden my breath. That's how I can hide from the eyes of the people along the way. Hide in the inn? After the Wulongs saw the news. Another wave of mystery speculation has begun. Number 3 gives number 6 a spell of Confucian concealment. It seems that number 3 is really a Confucian disciple. And he is also a disciple who is highly valued by his teacher. Our heaven and earth society finally has disciples like home. It's just that number 1 is still wiser. He immediately noticed that something was wrong. And the fight has already reacted. Mobilize manpower to cordon off the surrounding situation. How could the number 3 give help to the number 6? Unless he himself lives in the inner city. It happens to be in the same area. Recently, there are disciples of Yinlu Academy who have stayed in the inner city. Go back and send someone to check it out. At this time, Xu Qian'an spoke, you tell the inn. Aren't you afraid that number 1 will report you? Number 1 will not. If he wants to report it, I'll just say it. Number 3, I owe you my life. I will repay you in the future. Xu Qian'an guessed. Big bald head. This is in the form of revealing number 1 to me in disguise. Style Xu Qian'an replied. It's just a matter of effort. On the 5th, it's time to exchange information. The kingdom of 10,000 demons fell 500 years ago. Buddhism is handsome, and the countries of the western regions have leveled the 10,000 demon kingdom. It is said that in the final battle of the Burning Mountain, the Buddha himself took action. Xu Qian'an was taken aback. Wait a minute, you just said the Buddha. That's right, Xu Qian'an wanted to say. Are you sure that the Buddha really exists? Only the immortals and Buddhas who jumped out of the grade. But that kind of character really exists. Number 5 continued. That's what my elders said anyway. The credibility is extremely high. As long as you are clear. What is the realm of the leader of the 10,000 demon kingdom? Number 4 asked. EP number 5 said disdainfully. Daddy told me. That's half a Valkyrie. Xu Qian'an was taken aback. Half of the Valkyrie. It means that it almost surpassed a product. Become the god of the martial arts system. Number 5 seems to know the history of the 10,000 demon kingdom very well. He can't be the remnant of the 10,000 demon kingdom. This is the Golden Lotus Dao chief, who has been diving appearing. The empress of 10,000 demons is a half-martial god. It is recorded in the imperial classics of the poor Daoji. He's a good thing. I don't know the specifics. After all, that was 500 years ago, after the fall of the empress of 10,000 demons. The demons of the 10,000 demon kingdom continued to fight for a long time. In the end, he had no choice but to flee southern Xinjiang. But for 500 years, the remnants of the 10,000 demon kingdom have not been destroyed. They have a strong cohesion, with the dream of recovering the country. And the reason for all this, it's the princess of the 10,000 demon kingdom who is still there. She is the widow of the empress of 10,000 demons. He is the leader of the remnants of the 10,000 demon kingdom. What realm she is, I don't know about this. What are the powerful demons in the 10,000 demon kingdom? I only know the history of the 10,000 demon kingdom. But the current situation of the 10,000 demon kingdom is not very clear. After all, the 10,000 demon kingdom is secretly accumulating. The forces are not active. Xu Qian'an helplessly thought about your situation. At most, it gave me a science about history. It doesn't help Xiao much. At this time, number 2 temptation road number 3. You ask the intelligence of the 10,000 demon kingdom what to do. Confucianism has no intersection with the kingdom of 10,000 demons. Xu Qian'an did not answer him. Instead, it changed the subject. Golden Lotus Dao Chief. I have a friend. He's been out of trouble lately. Not sure why. He always went out to collect silver. The number of times is mundane. This is no longer described as lucky. Let me put it this way. He doesn't do anything. Just by collecting money, you can live a prosperous life. The younger brother cultivates merit. There can be something like that. The Wulongs were envious. Pick up money when you go out. And listen to what number 3 says. It's not pure luck, but often see silver. Jean Lien replied to the meritorious family and pleaded his case. It means that the stars are shining. The feedback given in the dark is that things are going well. No disease and no disaster. Every time you can turn evil into good fortune. It will not be specifically to pick up silver. Xu Qian'an was silent. Other words, people who are full of merit. Things will be smooth sailing. But it's just a general blessing, rather than simply picking up silver. So to speak, is shit luck. The merit with the emperor is not a concept. No one spoke for a long time. Xu Qian'an squatted in the stinky thatch hut and waited for a long time. It was determined that these people were offline again. Xu Qian'an is angry with you unqualified netizens. Early the next morning, the inner city gates. The gates were guarded twice as many as before. There was even a white cloth present for 4 days. Number 6 mixed in the flow of people and walked towards the outer city. The white clothes of the 4 days also looked at him. Just looked at it for a moment and let it go. Peng Yuan was secretly frightened. Fortunately, number 3 bought himself very valuable time. As a disciple of Buddhism, naturally, there is a way to eliminate the evil qi after killing. Number 6 all the way to the east. It was close to noon before returning to the accommodation. Yangtze was a welfare institution of the imperial court, specially taken the widows and lonely. Although it is government-run, but there are only a few old clerks in the courtyard. I can barely see the orphans and the elderly in the hospital. For more than 10 years, The imperial court has a welfare institution such as Yangtze growing disregard. Often, even these monks have not been able to spare money. The government-run institutions have long since existed in name only. And he just stepped into the yard. Then an old officer came up to meet him. Master Hengyuan, who was bitter. You don't have to bring the kids in again. The pot could not be opened in the hall. Hengyuan folded his hands and said that the poor monk would solve the problem of silver. Speaking of which, Hengyuan remembered the friend on the third. I also want to go out and pick up silver every day. In the firewood room in the backyard of the health hall, Hengyuan opened the door. Inside lay a black dog. He walks extremely clumsily, but a pair of eyes sometimes shine brightly. The black dog clumsily walked to the monk's feet. Raise your black and white eyes. Slurred speech, intermittently blessed as the East China Sea. Good luck. Master Hengyuan looked at him with pity. Put your hands together. Recite the Dharma horn in a low voice. The murder of Uncle Ping swept the court the next day. The Xuangui group was furious. A civilian bureaucratic group that has always been at odds with Sun Gui also attached importance to this case. The inspectorate impeached Wei Yuan, Emperor Yuan Jing. He severely reprimanded the commander of the 5 guards in the capital, and Wei Yuan, the commander of the watchmen. Strangely, however, beat the watchman yamen. The attitude towards the case was extremely negative. In the film hall, Xu Qian'an and his colleagues drank tea and chatted. When he asked, "Why is the yamen so negative about this case?" Nicholas Song said disdainfully, and there is no need to be surprised. Uncle Ping Yuan is not a good person. I heard some insider information from other colleagues. Uncle Ping Yuan raised a Yazi in private, specializing in human trafficking and lack of morality. Wei Gong wished that these imperial moths would die cleanly. He also counted on the watchmen to avenge him. But after all, it was the face of the imperial court. The court Zhugong will not stop there. It's about to be examined. No one cares about the dead Uncle Ping Yuan. After a while, it stopped. It's just hard work. Our yamen has just ordered to intensify patrols in the inner city. I don't know how the Imperial Hall Zhu Guild will deal with Duke Wei. They have been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. Beat the yamen. The dark poison Kuxiqian came to consult the files of the 10,000 Demon Kingdom. There is a lot of information about the 10,000 Demon Kingdom recorded in the book. But it's all history. The only valuable information is a description of the Empress of 10,000 demons. The 9-tailed sky fox can fight more people. There is no record of the Buddha acting in the dark poison storehouse. So how does the number 5 know? What kind of force does number 5 belong to? Xu Qian asked at Li Yuan. Are there any other dossiers about the 10,000 Demon Kingdom? Li Yuan replied, yes. But it's not in Ding Hao's warehouse. In other words, it's just that Xu Qian's authority is insufficient. He had no choice but to leave the dark poison vault, then go straight to Haoqi building. He's going to make a bold move in order to win more trust and appreciation from Wei Yuan. The specific draft has been finalized. Xu Qian loudly asked Wei Pingping to resign from his humble position. Something to tell. Hearing this, Nangong Qianro raised her eyebrows. Looking at Xu Qian's gaze, his eyes were full of hostility. He is Jin Luo, was asked to retire by a mere gong. Wei Yuan's face paused slightly. Nod slightly, you two leave first. You supervise each other. No eavesdropping. Nangong Qianro looked at Xu Qian deeply. This little gong. It's only been a few days since I joined the Watchmen. He was frequently summoned by his father-in-law. In order to talk to him, the father-in-law also separated himself and Yang Yan. This made Nangong Qianro very unhappy. Obviously, I came first. 2 golden gongs. Leave the curiosity building. Nangong Qianro sneered and said with a dignified golden gong. It was crossed by a gong under his hand. He obviously didn't take you seriously. Yang Yan was silent. Nangong Qianro said unhappily, I'm sowing discord. You're giving some face. Yang Yin said lightly, "You know what his qualifications are. You know that Gong Wei wants to cultivate him. But he doesn't take you as the truth." Yang Yin asked rhetorically, "Do you think I will care?" Nangang Chinro was completely angry. Yes, 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 it's your soldiers. This incense is alive." After speaking, the sad smile was really boring. "Or go to the prison and have fun with my toys." The inspection room on the 7th floor of the Haoqi building. Xu Qian'an said. The subordinates have a report on the case of Ping Yuanbua. Wei Yuanshan said that the heaven and earth would meet. It was the number 6 of the Heaven and Earth Society who killed Ping Yuanbua. Wei Yuan was silent for a moment. I asked why. A junior brother of number 6 was abducted by the Yangtze organization and taken away from the position of life and death. He followed the clues and touched the melon. Locked up Pinji Wambo. Xu Qian will tell how he helped number 6 escape. How to avoid Tian's supervision. All of them were spoken, just waiting for his voice to fall. Wei Yuan waved his sleeves and swept down the teacup. Then the resignation splashed all over the ground. His expression was no longer gentle. The pupils are as sharp as knives. Then he shouted Xu Qian. Privateers, guilty concurrently. Xu Qian pleaded guilty on the spot. Speak out for the sin of degrading. He knew that he was guilty of sin. I was terrified for a day and a night. After all, there is no escape from the condemnation of conscience. Chose to confess to Wei Gong. Suicide or exile. Let Duke Wei call the shots. But the conscience of the lowly office does not. It's against that damn Uncle Ping Yuan. But he felt ashamed of his trust and cultivation in Wei Gong. Wei Yuan's face was expressionless. Like dyed frost. Xu Qian's tone gradually became sincere. Humble and chatting with colleagues today. I learned that the Duke of Wei was reprimanded by His Majesty. Was grabbed by Zhu Gong of the court. Take the opportunity to end the humble position. When I think of Duke Wei, I am as kind as a mountain. Wei Yuan interrupted him lightly. It would be too much to be as heavy as a mountain. Let's talk about the reason. Sue's wife's face froze. Not a big guy. Why don't you speak according to the routine? Are you still mixed officialdom? He paused. Said that Ping Yuanbua secretly cultivated the Yangtze organization. Trafficking in human beings in the capital. Violence is sought. The Yamen abducted children and women. Sold to the greenhouse. Sold to the black workshop. Trained to be a thief. Even cut off hands and feet. Wrapped in black dog skin. He repeated the explanation of number 6. He did not hide his hatred for Uncle Ping Yuan between his words. Wait for Xu Qian to finish. Wei Yuan and Qi calmly talked about the details of pouring tea. It shows that Wei Yuan has forgiven Xu Qian. Xu Qian immediately poured tea for his father. It's like serving the leader in the police station in my previous life. Wei Yuan was silent for a few seconds. Tell me how much you know about the Emperor of Heaven. How much do you know about the Golden Lotus of the Earth sect? According to the Yamen survey, Uncle Ping Yuan does raise the Yangtze organization. But that number 6, it's really for the so-called junior brother. And for no other purpose. Maybe Uncle Ping Yuan was involved in other things. Maybe the Yangtze organization has done something. Hence the fire of death. Have you ever thought about this? During reconnaissance, the demons are dancing. In 4 days, it will be the day for His Majesty to worship his ancestors. Nothing can be taken lightly. Xu Qian was slightly moved. Dad, this is teaching himself to do things. Analyze yourself. He really wants to be with me again. He treated me like a subordinate. And I wanted to call him Daddy. I'm so despicable. Xu Qian bowed his head. Wei Gong taught a lesson. Wei Yuan said approvingly. How you're doing well. Let's go down first. I'll send someone to investigate this. You continue to lurk in the Heaven and Earth Society. The short-term goal is to find the number 1. Xu Qian said loudly. The lowly duty must go all out. Leave Haoqi building. Xu Qian let out a breath. I know I got the bet right this time. One Wei Yuan's trust. I want to be in a solid position. I want to climb up. You have to learn to stand in line. Learn to hug your thighs. For a long time to come, he had to keep brushing Wei Yuan's favorability. Earn his trust. And what Wei Yuan said to himself at the end. It's also my own thoughts. I'm right on the 6th. There is not 100% trust in the heaven and earth society. It's still the old silver that can deal with the old silver coins. So when you encounter confusion, try to find a place. Of course, a mature 2-5 boy. There has to be something else. Xu Qian'an arrived at a hidden corner where no one was around. Pull out the jade trail. Enter your information. Number 6, I just got the news. The lantern bearer has a clue of unknown origin. It is likely to be bad for you. You have to be prepared. Evacuate in time. After Hing Yuan saw the message, solemnized, leads were tracked down only 1 day later, and may threaten yourself. It's really fast. Wait, how did number 3 know about this? At this time, number 1 took the initiative to speak for the first time. Number 3, how did you find out about the inside information of the Watchman? Xu Qian'an guessed correctly. Sure enough, as long as it involves the high-level affairs of the capital. Number 1 cares a lot. Xu Qian'an did not answer immediately. Rather, the wording was thought about once. Write on paper. Enter your information. What do you think? He knew that the other holders of the handing fragments were watching the screen, waiting for Xu Qian'an to give a reason, and enough to explain it. The debate over Confucian orthodoxy continued for more than 200 years. We can't sit still. Time. The holders of the fragments of the book became excited. This sentence is what? What do you mean? Yunlu Academy planted a plate in the yamen of the Watchman. It's a big melon. Xu Qian'an said tentatively. Number 1, you can try to find me. This is both a provocation. It's also a temptation. If number 1 responds, or do it secretly. So, Xu Qian'an can reverse lock his identity from this. The Watchman is a yamen that only belongs to the royal family. It is also an idle force such as Yangtze who has not been wronged. It doesn't get in at all. Even if there is a situation where the plate is inserted, it will definitely not be the middle and high level. And the guys at the bottom, there is simply no resources and ability to troubleshoot the plates. However, number 1 is a smart man. Ignored Xu Qian'an's provocation. Very far-sighted. No one spoke for a long time. Enter the information, and I will pay extra attention to number 3 these days. I owe you a favor again. Your Excellency is chivalrous. Scenery Festival Moon. It is the object of imitation by those who are being emulated. Great goodness of the benefactor. Xu Qian'an said that you don't want to be grateful too early. Sooner or later, the favor will have to be paid back. This wave deepened Wei Yuan's trust in me. I sent a big favor to the 6th, and in the hearts of all the congregations of heaven and earth, leave an image of helpfulness. This wave of blood. It's just that number 1 seems to be getting more and more interested in me. If it is really the top of the imperial court, I will definitely check it in Yunlu Academy. But he couldn't find it. Even if the number 3 is really locked, it could be Xu Qian'an. This truth. I can also push Jiro out and pass it. After all, I'm a person in the imperial system. If the true body is found by number 1, I'm going to be passive. Erlang is the son of Yunlu Academy. More confident than me. And at present, there is no grudge against number 1. All in all, it's not a big problem. Say goodbye. Big brother loves you so much. You should give back to your big brother a little. Return to the side hall of the Spring Breeze Hall. Nicholas Song ridiculed Xu Qian'an for being a bastard who prostitutes. Zhu Guangxiao nodded in agreement. Xu Qian'an thought for a moment. Said that today, I will go to the Dark Poison Library to send it. A huge secret has emerged. Nicholas Song and Zhu Guangxiao suddenly came to the spirit. What a secret. Xu Qian'an said, you call me Dad. I'll tell you. Nicholas Song called without hesitation. Xu Qian'an was happy. The secret is that you are not my own. Nicholas Song and Zhu Guangxiao blew up directly. But at this time, a silver gong came in at the door. Xu Qian'an came out with us. Xu Qian'an and his two colleagues followed out blankly. Spring Breeze Hall. The silver gong smiled and said to Li Yuchen, "Lord Li, I took this gong from your hand. From now on, he will work under my hands. Let's make a deal." Li Yuchen exploded and made a joke when he heard it. "Naked robbed of my treasure boy. I would agree." Li Yuchen waved his sleeves. The door of the Spring Breeze Hall closed. Tao Yinluo was shocked by his reaction. "What does that mean?" Li Yuchen ridiculed Lord Tao. "And what did he mean? You and I are not under the same golden gong. There is no such rule." Tao Yinluo pointed at Xu Qian'an and said, "It was Master Jiang who asked me to come and pick up someone. He had a crush on this kid." Then he greeted Xu Qian'an. "Why are you stupid? Come here. You'll be my man from now on. Jiang Jinluo has taken a fancy to you. This is a blessing for you." Xu Qian'an was speechless. How did this sound strange? Does Master Jiang still have to carry me through the door with a sedan chair? I don't even know him. Li Yuchen blew up. "Then you go and reply to Lord Jiang." "I disagree." Tao Man suspected that he had misheard something. "You dare to refuse Lord Jiang? I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. Lady Jiang is still waiting. I'm going to kick someone right now. If you have any opinions, find Lord Jiang yourself. If you dare to touch my person surnamed Tao, try it. If you step out of that threshold today, Lao Tzu is not called Li Yuchen. You surnamed Li are really stunned today. Do you know what you're talking about?" Nicholas Song and Zhu Guang. Filial piety and the gong brought by Tao Man. Several people squatted in the yard eating fried beans. Listened to the scolding in the street. Then, a gong asked what your bronze was. Nicholas Song shook his head, and there was no reason. It's just that he went to the church and privately said that the girl didn't want money. The two gongs were taken aback. Really fake. How he did it? Nicholas Song added that he couldn't say anything. I promised to keep it a secret for him. He gave us a tael of silver as hush money. The two gongs generously gave 2 taels of silver. Tell Nicholas Song to continue. Nicholas Song took it, said with a smile on his face, because we were in for a treat. No surprises. The voice fell. They scuffled together. At this time, Jiang Luzong was sitting in the hall. Looked at Xu Qian's household registration and information. That's when he knew. Originally, Xu Qian was outstanding in the original sleeping prostitution case. Changle County Small Kuaishou. I am responsible for the murder of Uncle Ping Yuan. Although Duke Wei resisted the pressure of all parties in the court for me. But I can't let that slack off. This would make Wei Gong question my abilities. This person is good at arresting and handling cases. Exactly what I need. And he has a close relationship with Si Tianjian Warlock. I can buy magic weapons from Si Tianjian through him. Armed subordinates. Then there was a sound of footsteps. Tao Yinluo said angrily, "Li Yuchen just doesn't give it to people." And drove me back. Also said if you want someone, you can go to him in person. Jiang Yuzhong slapped the information on the shore angrily. Say yes without anger. I'll go personally. Li Yuchen on the other side also found Yang Yin. Yang Jinluo has something to report. Yang Yin sweated slightly. Brother Chun said Jiang Jinluo with some emotion. To rob our gongs. Su's wife, and Yang Yin, raised her eyebrows. Looked at Wei Yuan's father-in-law. Wei Yuan smiled and said, "That's a matter for the two of you." Yang Yin immediately got up. A gong with fake qualifications can't be handed over. Who dares to rob people? He's going to knock out whose brains. The two golden gongs touched each other at the door of the Spring Breeze Hall. Jiang Luzhongchen said Yang Jinluo. Can Xu Qian be transferred to Wuhui Gorge? Yang Yin did not speak. Instead, he shook his head. Jiang Luzhong said, "Then what if I want it?" Yang Yinshin said that it would be done according to the rules. What rules? Fights, of course. This is an unagreed rule. It doesn't matter if it's a golden gong, a silver gong, or a brass gong. As long as there is a contradiction, then solve it by force. But it must be in the martial arts arena of the yamen. You can't fight in private. Takeo wants to be pure and righteous. Do not have one or two golden gongs for the sake of a small gong. It is necessary to compete in the martial arts arena. The news spread far and wide. The watchman who heard the news came to see the excitement. Xu Qian'an was also a little speechless. How do you feel like you've become a red face? However, Xu Qian'an also noticed the anxiety on stage. It was found that it was when Uncle Ping Yuan was killed that day. This Jin Luo had a relationship with him. I think it was because I saw that he had a lot of friendship with the warlock of Si Tianjian. I want to take myself under my command. And Yang Yin disagreed. 9 times out of 10, the reason is that they have fake qualifications. Li Yuchen talked to him. Duke Wei generously gave him a fake evaluation. Dad Wei is so generous. It's purely because of my poem. Xu Qian'an looked like a green tea. I'm under pressure that I shouldn't have. The attic near the martial arts arena. A couple of golden gongs watched it all from the window. Yang Yin and Jiang Lu's Hong didn't have a holiday. Probably not. Settle old accounts from the beginning. Could it be the problem of the gong? He seems to be called Xu Qian'an, right? It seems that he is also the one who solved the tax and silver case. That's just the case. It's not going to be a big deal. After the 2 golden gongs entered, just do it. There was no hesitation at all. The ground caved in a few inches. Anxiety disappeared from everyone's eyes. The next moment, Yang Yin raised her elbow and hit the left side. Blocked the momentum. A raging punch. Then the hands and feet of the 2 turned into afterimages. The sound of flesh colliding is endless. If you compare the human eye to a camera, the battle of 2 high-frequency martial artists, the limits of shooting have been exceeded. It's the reason why I can't catch it with the naked eye. It is also an ability unique to high-frequency martial arts. If it's the latter, that's the exclusive ability of a few martial artists. It should be after the 7th grade, because the 7th grade refining of gods is also aimed at spiritual tempering. In addition, the 2 Jin Luo were restrained during the battle. If you let go of your hands and feet, you can do it. It is estimated that the guards and yamen will have to be razed to the ground. Song Tingfeng patted Xu Qian'an on the shoulder. It's just a bit of a fun. Don't be so serious. The battle between the golden gongs. Not a few times a year. Su Weifan Dao, who do you think will win? Song Tingfeng smiled at the simple fight between flesh and strength. There is not much difference between the golden gongs. So every time the golden gong fights, there is no winner or loser. This fight lasted more than an hour. He Li Yuan, the watchman of the yamen, walked batch after batch. In the 5-husband system, the characteristic of Jioping alchemy is physical strength. It is known as an endless source of physical strength, although there are exaggerated ingredients. But it is enough to prove the terrible physical strength of Takeo. This is what the Oran lady thinks deeply. Beat the yamen. In the Haochi building, for Yuandan's ballistics, Yang Yin has to continue to fight. Stay in good health, or it will be another 10 years. Qi and blood declined. You have no hope for the rest of your life. Enter the 3rd product. The law is too concerned about his own qi and blood. I want to maintain the top physique all the time. But what you really have to do is to put the knife and tin into your fists and kicks. In this way, the combat power will be greatly improved. Jiang Lu's Hong was unconvinced. Listen to what Wei Gong means. I'm hopeless. Wei Yuan said that the 3 products have become an extraordinary human realm. It's a matter of chance, and not penance. Our king of Jinbei. 10 years of fighting on the battlefield, wandering on the edge of life and death dozens of times. Born to die. You're all a little out of steam. Since there is no victory, I won't mention the transfer of personnel. Jiang Luzhong gave up, but he asked for advice on one thing. What is so peculiar about the gong Xu Qian'an? Let young Jinluo value it so much. Unwilling to give up. Wei Yuandan's Dao is not a big deal. No, you're going to ask. I prepared it purposely. See for yourself. After speaking, took out Xu Qian's test qualifications. When Zhang Luzhong saw the two big red characters, he shouted at Yang Yin again. One more fight. I'm going to have this guy. Wei Gong, you can't because Yang Yin is your adopted son. There is some partiality. If you don't give, I'll spread the word about it. Let's see if Yang Yin can hold on to other meridians. Wei Yuan coldly said presumptuously. The reason why he is under Yang Yin's hands. It's not because of Yang Yin. It's Li Yuchen. Li Yuchen can test Xu Qian's character. Xu Qian also needs a person with a stereotypical personality. Be a leader. Changing any of them will contradict him. How did you get this piece of gold? Don't hide it in your anxiety. Ping Yuan's case is quite tricky. Inferred from current clues, it is very likely that people in the rivers and lakes are seeking revenge. But people have long since fled. Die young, die and die. Die young. Young. I can't wait for her to speak. The film and media brother of the teaching workshop division. Xu did not return home after finishing his street patrol. Instead, he went to the workshop division. Xu's wife sat in the tub. Sighed that Fuxiang is quite reserved today. There is no halfway service from Brother Xu. I took a shower and looked at the beauty through the screen. He just looked up. Yin Ran smiled. In an instant, there are all kinds of styles. Xu Qian thought that he was wrong through the screen. It was just that moment. The inexplicable feeling was gone. The next morning, when Xu Qian woke up, I found myself in a rare oversleep. The stables of the church division. Xu Qian has just been in the hands of the service staff of the teaching workshop division. Lead the horses. Suddenly, I heard a hearty laugh. He looked for it. A few men crossing knife uniforms. Walked to the stable. Isn't it second Uncle Xu? The uncle and nephew looked at each other in silence. Silence is better than sound at this point. The silver bottle burst into the water slurry. History is always strikingly similar. There was a pause for a few seconds. The uncle and nephew turned their heads at the same time. Pretend not to know each other. The second uncle's colleague said with emotion. What a blessing it was to the guest that Fuka accompanied last night. The second uncle subconsciously looked at Xu Qian. The news says that you envy the object of jealousy and hatred. It's my nephew. Not long after, Xu Pingji and his colleagues said goodbye outside the Jiaofeng temple. At this time, Xu Qian was also indignant and said to the second uncle, "You are married to such a beautiful person as your poor aunt. You don't cherish it. So that Fong Silai fooled around." Xu Pingji said in 3 more days. It is the day when His Majesty worships his ancestors. There will be more socializing during this time. Don't tell your aunt. After saying that, she ran to sell green oranges not far away. Turning his head, he said, "I'll go buy some oranges. You are waiting for me here." Xu Qian was coldly taken advantage of. I can't argue with that. I could only nod helplessly. On the way home, Xu Pingji peeled an orange. Deliberately smeared the juice of orange peel on the body. The old prostitute is gone. Xu Qian secretly admired second Uncle Dao in his heart. "Give me one too." Second Uncle Xu handed over oranges. He asked curiously, "You don't need it." Xu Qian said that you were a woman who lied to you. "I'm lying to your daughter." After the 2 smeared orange peels, only then did he enter the house. Second Uncle Xu peeled the orange that he hadn't eaten. It was handed to Li Ru. After the aunt ate it in her mouth, returned it to second Uncle Xu with an expressionless face. Second Uncle Xu saw his wife share. Half of it was peeled off too. Then he handed it to Xu Qian with an expressionless face. An orange. I also want everyone to share the food. It's very cozy. Xu Qian ate half of it, then handed it to Su Lingyue. Su Lingyue also ate half of it, beckoned to run around the hall. Little bean cubes to have fun by yourself. Diced beans took the orange. Pick up half of it and stuff it in your mouth. In an instant, the little face was wrinkled. The sour one shivered. The family didn't cry when they saw Xiao doubting. All relieved. So he handed over the whole bag of oranges to him to dispose of. Xu Qian went back to the courtyard to change into his errand clothes. Took a shower. At this time, the porter Lao Zhang came over and shouted to Lang. A guest arrived. The Lord called you over. Xu Qian responded that he knew. Close the courtyard door. Come in. Lao Zhang was stunned at first. I remembered the last time the servant was called into the bath. Inexplicable fainting thing. Lao Zhang didn't respond. Instead, he quietly left. Xu Qian walked out of the house. Seeing that Lao Zhang was gone, he still wants to carry Lao Zhang over the wall. Save him a detour to go back. Xu Qian came to the front hall. Found out that Chu Kaiwei was here. Xu Qian was surprised why he came to my house. Chu Kaiwei sat on the main seat. While eating, he complained that you would not go again. 4 days to see that the next time it will be Senior Brother Song. Xu Qian suddenly realized. I remembered that I really hadn't fulfilled my promise. Hurriedly said another day. I'll go another day. Chu Kaiwei questioned. You won't be left unprepared. Senior Brother Song said. In arrears for so long. You'll have to pay it back. The alchemical knowledge you wrote in the Blue Book is somewhat esoteric. The alchemists of the 4 days were momentarily unpredictable. At the end of the year, Senior Brother Song wants you to go for 4 days. To the alchemist of the 6 grades. And the warlocks under the 6 grades to give lectures. Xu Qian nodded, and he owed the debt to pay the money. Unalterable principle. But I need to prepare for half an hour. Chu Kaiwei smiled and smiled. I will supervise you. He's in a good mood. Towards the side of the stand. Su Lingyin, whose big eyes flashed with longing, said, Does the little sister want to eat her sister's pastry? Su Lingyin pecked his head. The kid had been coveting his cakes. A little wolf ambition. Chu Kaiwei didn't want to give him food. But Xu Qian agreed, so happily. He's in a good mood. Anyway, it's a little baby. I can't eat much. The two came to Xu Qian's small courtyard. In addition to the color for the probe, looking out of the kitchen. You said that day you were going to make something to eat for me. Xu Qian had no choice but to do it next time, and so on to make a low-profile version of the essence of chicken. I'll give it to you below. Half an hour later, Xu Qian wrote a good manuscript. Wait until they get back to the antechamber. Chu Kaiwei found. All the pastries were wiped out by the small bean cubes. Little Bean Ding burped. Thank you, sister, with a smile. The pastries were so delicious. Chu Kaiwei is also not good at losing her temper with a child. Can only puff up and Xu Qian back. See you in 4 days. Xu Qian sneered and said with a smile, Are you ashamed? My sister will eat some pastries from you. It's like this. Chu Kaiwei snorted. I'm going to keep it for you to eat. Xu Qian thought about it. Isn't it just a pastry? I'll buy you a few bucks. Chu Kaiwei said in a deep voice, 2 taels of silver. Xu Qian decisively waved the horsewhip and ran away. Don't let Senior Brother Song wait. Drive the capital of Dafeng. Si Tian saw Song Qing with 2 dark circles under his eyes. A look of overindulgence. Say, you're finally here. If you don't come again, I'll go to your house in person. For Xu Qian's delay. He was dissatisfied. I violated the principle of being a fair and honest person. Done bad things for him. The results are left and right. I just can't wait. Xu Qian smiled awkwardly. Isn't this coming? How is the grafting technique that Senior Brother Song has studied recently? Song Qin spread it out with a manuscript. This is my most recent grafting philosophy. I heard that you joined the Watchmen. Help me get a death row inmate. Xu Qian saw that it was a centaur. directly slapped off the paper in Song Qin's hand, smiled, and said this back to talk. I'm going to redeem my promise now. Xu Qian'an didn't want to be slapped to death by the traitorous government. Recite the practice of the senior brother. Alchemy is obviously crooked. I'm going to have to straighten it with my deep knowledge of chemistry. The teaching location is located in the lobby on the 7th floor. The white-clad warlocks brought in the case. Sit upright like a student. Xu Qian'an had a hunch. This lecture ends. My status in Tianjin will be raised again. Wait for me to copy poems to please the great Confucians of Yunlu Academy. Hold your dad's thighs steady. In the near future, can I walk sideways more often? There are 3 forces behind it. As long as you don't do big things against the grain. He was as steady as an old dog. Erlang, Big Brother still loves you. The road to your capital has been paved. And you are stingy and refuse to give your eldest brother a promise. Xu Qian'an swept over the white-clad warlocks. Before the start of the course, let's talk about alchemy first. Do you know anything about alchemy? At this time, Tianjin was at the door. 2 extravagant carriages were parked outside the stargazing tower. Wei Yuan and his 2 righteous sons respectfully luggage. Huaiqing said lightly, Duke Wei also came to find the supervisor. Wei Yuan sighed and said that it was in Taikang County. Eliminated stone was discovered, but it was all collected. It is suspected that it was committed by the remnants of the 10,000 demon kingdom. Qin suspected that there were still demon clans lurking in the capital. I want to ask the supervisor to open his eyes. Search for the ghost. What about the eldest princess? Huaiqing replied, I'm here to find Kai Wei. Wei Gong felt that Ping Yuan's death was related to the demon clan. Wei Yuan shook his head, and Uncle Ping Yuan had nothing to do with the demon clan. He doesn't have that value. The 2 sides entered the stargazing tower together. To his astonishment, the building was empty. No one came to greet the 2nd floor, and the same was true for the 3rd floor. Got to the 5th floor. I finally saw a busy white dress. Huaiqing asked, the palace committed suicide. I've only seen you. What happened to the 4 heavenly sword? Bai Yi listened. I don't want to see the eldest princess. No, I want to go to the 7th floor too. But I still have business to do. The brothers wouldn't let me go. It is simply not merciful. He grumbled and explained. Dao Su Gongzi gave a lecture on the 7th floor. Teach alchemy. The brothers and sisters all went to the class. Huaiqing and Wei Yuan both secretly speculated. The surname Su is none other than him. Wei Yuanci thought that Song Qin once told me. Xu Qian'an is an amazing alchemy wizard. It's just that I didn't care too much about it at the time. After all, Song Qin was the first person in Tian's alchemy. Nangong Qianro was puzzled by the righteous father. When did Tianjin come out with a surname Su? Wei Yuan smiled. Go upstairs and take a look. Clever white-clad sorcerers. Answer his question in the words of Xu Qian'an. The essence of alchemy is equivalent exchange. Extract the essence from things. Turn trash into treasure. There are also alchemists based on their own experience. Give an answer. Song Qin shook his head. Sighed. The white-clad sorcerers were puzzled. What does senior brother Song mean by this? At this time, Xu Qian'an clapped his palms. The crowd immediately paid attention. Threw himself at the alchemy device. Xu Qian'an met everyone's gaze. Snooped on the entire Tian sword. In the field of alchemy, only senior brother Song makes me admire. Regarded as a superior person who can be compared. Senior brother Song actually meant that. All of you are right, but not comprehensively. So it's not right. Sue's wife, Angel, said. Originally, I only promised senior brother Song Qing. Teach you a piece of knowledge. As a result, senior brother Song Qing insisted that I pay back the principal with interest. Then I'll talk a little bit more. Speak a little broader. Be thorough. I just finished saying that. The eyes of the white-clad warlocks instantly lit up. Loud noises. It happened to reach Huaiqing and Wei Yuan, who had climbed to the 7th floor. And they paused, didn't go in right away. But at the same time, they all showed his expression. Yang Yin stared at Xu Qian'an for a moment. It turned out that Zhang Luzhong was telling the truth. He secretly made up his mind. This gong can only be under his command. No one wants to snatch it. Xu Qian'an said alchemy. The essence of the art is equivalent exchange. This is the criterion for the plagiarism of the outline. But he doesn't have an image. There are only alchemy masters like Senior Brother chanting. In order to understand the true meaning of this sentence, alchemy is mentioned. The layman subconsciously thinks of elixirs and potions. Those who know a little more must think of metal. But these are just two of the areas of alchemy. I classify them as the medical field and the materials field. Most of the alchemists, they only delve into these two fields, occasionally jumping into other areas. But only Senior Brother Song. His eyes are already in another separate field. Song Chini is like finding a confidant. Do you want to focus on the field of grafting organisms? Maybe this time for the lecture. It will also be him, an important step into a new realm of alchemy. Brother Song Qing's research direction is in the field of biology. Alchemy is not just for dead things. Living creatures are also in the realm of alchemy. A white-clothed warlock Chen Sheng said to Su Gongzi. Mr. Kanamasa said, life is outside the realm of alchemy. Su's wife on Dao. That's because Senior Brother Song Qing's method was wrong. So the governor criticized him. But he wasn't wrong in the right direction. We extract metals from ores. Harder metals are extracted from metals. Refining elixir from medicinal herbs. But we can't extract the agent from the metal. Metals cannot be extracted from medicinal herbs. Here's why. A white-clothed man said proudly. Medicinal herbs are medicinal herbs. Ore is ore. Su Gongzi's question is so strange. Metals can be extracted from medicinal herbs. Shall we not extract gold and silver from white rice? But Song Qin was in the same place. Then he breathed heavily, urging you to go on. The white-clothed men watched this scene in disbelief. It was very rare for them to see such a Senior Brother Song. Also aware of, Su Qian said, it is outside of the truly advanced knowledge of alchemy. Huaiqing, who was headed, couldn't help but look at Song Qin. This is a strong personal disciple. He is also recognized by Si Tianjian as the first person in alchemy. Immersed in the field of alchemy, he refused to be promoted, disdained for the high-grade realm. Other senior brothers of 4 and 5 grades, none of them are as good as him in the field of alchemy. He always tinkered with some terrible alchemy. He was even imprisoned for this. Xu Qian's alchemy. It's really advanced to this point. Can't actually guide Song Qing. Just as Xu Qian was about to say it again, found the eldest princess and Father Wei standing behind him. Xu Qian was almost scared to pee. Zhuang 13 was being watched by the leaders when he was energetic. His strategy against the white-clothed warlock was to win narrowly in front of people. The more pompous it is, the better. And the strategy for Wei Yuan is to show loyalty. It's a harmless little 13 within a reasonable range. But the current situation is not a small outfit 13. It's a straight one-word horse. But think about it another way. Demonstrate your value in front of your leaders. It's also a way to get noticed and increase your chips. And who is the girl next to my father? Promoted so beautifully. Su Qian coughed. Go on, and that's what I'm going to talk about. I want to talk to you about the main points. There are some very subtle substances in everything. These substances make up the myriad worlds as we see them. There is a connection and a pattern between these substances. Explain with the simplest example. An elixir. It needs to be refined with more than a dozen or dozens of medicinal herbs. However, the efficacy of each herb is obviously different. Why? Because the properties of some of the subtle substances are similar to each other, so they can react and merge with each other. The same is true for refining metals. In that mutilated book of alchemy, a mantra is written about the similar properties of subtle substances. I call this mantra the periodic table. For a moment, the sound of rapid breathing was loud. The hall echoed in the hall for 4 days, and the white-clothed people were excited and ecstatic. Song Qing even ran directly to Xu Qian'an. Excitedly, I know. The reason why my living alchemy failed. It is because they have no similarity between them. Yes, how can cats and trees have similar characteristics? It's two completely different things. Xu Qian smiled and said with a smile, "It is barely reasonable for you to understand it so well. Senior Brother Song is worthy of being a genius in alchemy. Outstanding comprehension." Song Qin frowned, "Although I understand your reasoning. But how to verify the similarity between living creatures? Where is the right direction for the alchemy of living creatures?" Xu Qian said that it was a good question. "I'm just waiting for this time to point fingers at you. Then the direction of Yo-Yo Dao's living alchemy is cells." The relatives were stunned. Again, a strange word that has never been heard before. Xu Qian was secretly weak-hearted. "I don't know much about cells. It's none of my business anyway. Success is what I taught. If you don't succeed, you're stupid." Xu Qian took out a booklet from his arms. "This is the second blue book I have given to Xu Tianjian. It contains the formulas of the periodic table and my personal annotations. There is also Senior Brother Song Qin. The right direction for living alchemy is in it." Song Qin couldn't wait to grab the booklet. Eagerly read the first sentence of the opening paragraph. "Cells are the beginning of a life. Look at it." Song Qin held the booklet tightly. Yang Tian laughed. The blazing gaze of the white-clad warlock looked at the booklet in Song Qin's hand. "I was curious about what was written in the booklet. It feels like there's a cat making trouble in my heart." Song Qin restrained his smile. In a calm tone, Su Ningyan said it just now. "The realm of national objects is too profound. You haven't reached your realm. Wait for my brother. I will understand it thoroughly. Naturally, it will be taught on behalf of the teacher." The white-clothed people could only reluctantly give up the idea of checking. Chemistry encompasses all aspects of the field. For example, electrochemistry, and nuclear chemistry as well as quantum chemistry. Xu Qian himself is also half understood. He wasn't going to go any further. It's also not good to put the inventory in the stomach. Dig it all out in one go. They are not a blessing. It's not worth his teaching. Equivalent exchange. This kind of thing has to be done in a long way. The white-clad warlock stood up. The movements are uniform. Towards Xu Qian. "Thank you for the grace of Gongzi Su." Huai Qing outside the door witnessed everything. His expression was slightly dazed. The warlock of Si Tian's sword gave a disciple salute to a martial artist. "I'm afraid it's since the establishment of Si Tianjian. For the first time, this is the only person Xu Qian. It is enough to leave a small mark in the history books." Song Qing let out a breath. Chao Kai Wei said, "Junior sister, the eldest princess is here for you." Xu Qian hurriedly stepped forward. Hugfist Dao has seen Wei Gong. Wei Yuan smiled. Gestured to the woman in the gorgeous long dress beside her. "This is the eldest princess." Li Yuchen told him. "I can do my best." The eldest princess raised her sword. "Take a closer look." Xu Qian was peerless by this graceful one. The appearance of the eldest princess. Amazed. Hug your fists and thank the eldest princess for raising her sword. Huai Qing smiled and sweated his hands. "The sound is pleasant. The alchemy cheats you just mentioned are." Xu Qian replied. It was a lowly young age when he had to meet the guidance of a master. A book of alchemy secrets was taught. Next, if Huai Qing or Wei Yuan offered to cut him, said that he accidentally lost it. But the content is already in my mind. By the same knowledge. After prostituting Si Tianjian's white clothes, prostitute the eldest princess and Wei Yuan again. Who knew that the eldest princess just smiled? He asked no more. The words are good. There's something about this princess. At least a very smart woman. Wei Yuan said to this little gong, "Come with me to the superintendent." Xu Qian's breathing was uncontrollably short. See the supervisor of the Warlock's Peak, the top floor of the star-picking tower. Xu Qian'an followed Wei Yuan. Come to the octagonal terrace. I saw him sitting at the table. Witnesses were given to them in white. At this moment, an old voice came to you. I don't know if it's an illusion. Xu Qian'an produced the illusory feeling that he was talking to me. Wei Yuan walked to the edge of the octagonal platform. Said lightly, I'm here. I haven't played chess in a long time. Can the supervisor talk to Wei about a game? The superintendent did not speak. Wave his hand. A chessboard and 2 boxes of chess pieces appeared out of thin air on the shore. Wei Yuan sat opposite the prisoner. During this time, the superintendent can concentrate on looking at the world. The superintendent said that he was old and faint. I can't see clearly. After a while, Wei Yuan said in a deep voice, Brother Zhong, the Taoist hand is enchanted. The superintendent, as always, is indifferent, and things are extremely opposed. Merit becomes immortal. It's not that simple. Wei received the message. There are remnants of the 10,000 demon kingdom lurking in the capital. It's all small roles. Wei Yuan heard this. He nodded reassuringly. Then he said something in a casual tone that was not mistaken. Zhang moved to the imperial city 19 years ago. Before, His Majesty begged for immortal paths. The 3 sects of heaven, earth, and man ignored it. Firm and silent. Wei Yuan went on to say recently, the remnants of the 10,000 demon kingdom have taken action around the capital. In 3 days, it will be the day for His Majesty to worship his ancestors. The supervisor should take a good look at the capital. Xu Qian'an has been standing aside, watching them chat. I can't interject myself. The situation is very awkward. The 2 of them fell faster and faster. In the end, there was almost no time to think, until the 2 sides draw. At this time, the supervisor Chun Dao said that day, you practice martial arts. I have prophesied that the Great Bong will produce a 2nd grade. But in the end, you gave up your cultivation. Wei Yuan shook his head meaninglessly. Why not follow the Confucian path? I can't get along with the scholars of Yunlu Academy. Uninteresting 25 years ago. I ask you if you would like to be my disciple. Wei Yuan said lightly. Wei had no intention. Warlock testimonial. Silent for a moment. Looking at Xu Qian'an, the road is wonderful. My little friend taught me to my students. Also give a gift to a little friend. Xu Qian'an was stunned. And this kind of good thing. He was stunned. Suddenly, I heard the sound of breaking the air. 1 black and 1 gold. 2 iron mounds galloped in, swept past Xu Qian'an's side. Fly to the firm. The 2 pieces of iron melted during the flight. When it falls into the hands of Jianzheng, it is already the embryo of a long knife. Hold the blade firmly and firmly. The other hand was wiped on the blade of the knife. A long, dark, golden knife became firm and bent to the fingers. The knife embryo swirled and landed in front of Xu Qian'an. Xu Qian'an's 3 views were strongly impacted. This is alchemy. It's magic. Alchemy. It should not be extracted in bottles and cans. Isolate the substance. Xu Qian'an realized. Stick to this hand. Is it just a gift? No, he's hitting me in the face. He's talking to me. Young man, you don't know anything about alchemy. But it doesn't matter if you can prostitute your face or something. Xu Qian'an immediately thanked him. Righteous Lord. Xu Qian'an took off his robe. Wrap the blade. Hold in your arms. With this knife, raise your own power by at least 1 or 2 steps. When going downstairs, Xu Qian'an met Chu Kaiwei and the eldest princess. When she went upstairs, she immediately invited Chu Kaiwei to go on a date. Are you free at night? I invite you to Guiyue Tower for dinner. Who knew that the foodie Chu Kaiwei refused in 1 bite? Later in the imperial city, I'm going to rest in the eldest princess's mansion tonight. The implication is, the eldest princess's mansion has endless pastries and delicacies. The food at Guiyue House is delicious. But how can it be compared to the chefs of the imperial city? Xu Qian'an thought for a moment. I will practice in 2 days after the TD. The day after tomorrow is the day when the emperor worships his ancestors. The watchman is responsible for security. Then come to my house for dinner after His Majesty worships his ancestors. He thought he might as well just throw it to pick up the leaky version of the fund. The consumption of Guiyue Tower is still a bit expensive. Chu Kaiwei remembered. Can you give me something to eat? Suwana nodded, waiting for the good news. The two separated. Chu Kaiwei led the eldest princess upstairs. Su Weifan followed Wei Yuan downstairs. Su Weif looked up. I happened to see the eldest princess looking down on him. The two looked at each other. Su Weifan grinned. The eldest princess was expressionless. After I couldn't see Su Weifan's figure, he glanced at his lips slightly. Out of the stargazing tower, Yang Yin glanced at Xu Qian'an. Asked if you can drive. Xu Qian'an shook his head. Who is driving a serious person? Yang Yin nodded. Put Ma Jiang into his hands. Then he got into the carriage himself. On the gossip platform, Huaiqing's voice was cold and pleasant. There has always been a question about the main palace. Jianzheng said lightly, Princess, please say. Inzhong moves into the imperial city, bewitching his father and the emperor to cultivate. For 19 years, he ignored the government. The bandits in Yunzhou are in trouble. Disasters are frequent. The imperial court's control over southern Xinjiang was getting weaker and weaker. The northern tribes of the wolves are ambitious. Internal and external troubles. The eldest princess sighed and said, What are you waiting for? Huaiqing waited for a long time, but no one answered. He looked back. He was found asleep with his eyes squinted. Chu Kaiwei didn't have a good Qi Dao princess. Ignore this old man. I'm getting older. How many years can I live? I guess it's a few years. Huaiqing glanced at him. Si Tianjian saved him from a female disciple. Everyone spoiled him. That's what he dared to say. Treacherous government. Huaiqing changed the topic. You are very familiar with that gong. Chu Kai smiled and said that Su Ningyan is a talent. It sounds good. I think he's funny. The health hall is in the surrounding residence. I've been waiting for 2 days of Hingyuan event. Finally waited for one. A petty wine officer in a green robe with quail sleeves led a group of craftsmen into the health hall. It didn't take long for the sound of ping-pong to be heard. It lasts until dusk. Master Hin waited until the night. Make sure there are no ambushes around. And see Tianjian after the white clothes. That's when he left Mingdo. Enter the health hall to view. But he was amazed to find it. The door of the health hall has been renewed. It's not just the outside. Even the inside has a new look. Lao Liyuan discovered Hingyuan. Surprise Master Dao Hingyuan. You're back. You don't have to go to the fete. The imperial court has just allocated money. It made up for the arrears of silver taels in previous years. In the afternoon, craftsmen were also sent to repair the yard. Master Hingyuan said in a low voice. Funding for labor aid has not yet arrived. Yes, 200 taels of silver. Children and old people in the yard. The expenses for the coming year are there. I'm going to give everyone a winter coat tomorrow. It's just in time. Otherwise, many old friends can't survive this winter. In the backyard of the Su mansion, Xu Qian'an was awakened in the middle of the night. There was a pang of anger in my heart. What's new? Which neuropathy? Bombing in the middle of the night. Xu Qian'an looked at it. I found out that it was a message from the 6th. Number 1, number 3. Have you discovered my hiding place? Dead bald heads don't sleep in the middle of the night. What a noise. Jean Lien asked suspiciously. What happened? Heng Yuan continued to enter the information. I didn't expect the hiding place to be exposed so quickly. It doesn't hurt to say that. I'm at the health hall in Dongcheng. I brought all the children I saved here. The health hall has been struggling to survive. Here are a few laborers who also have nowhere to go. There's also a group of homeless children and lonely elderly people. But today, the court suddenly remembered this place. Someone was sent to repair the yard. It made up for the arrears of silver taels in previous years. Before that, Lao Kasawara has been there a few times. Complementarity has been driven out. I know, if there is no special reason. It is impossible to have 2 pieces of silver to be set down. Heng Yuan secretly guessed. If it's a watchman, come to me. Number 6 will not be surprised. But number 1 and number 3. To find out where he was hiding so quickly. Lu Zhishan was taken aback. Number 1 immediately said it wasn't me. The Wulongs immediately started another wave of analysis. Not number 1. That's only number 3. Number 3. He is worthy of being a scholar of Yinlu Academy. He was because of Ping Yuanbu's case. Number 6 heel was found, but nothing was done against the 6th. Instead, he silently helped number 3 behind his back. He is worthy of being a reader. Number 2 spoke. Number 3, did you do it? Xu Qian'an remained silent. It's not me, I don't. Don't lift me up. But suddenly, Xu Qian'an thought of something. The day before yesterday, he sold number 6 to Wei Yuan. By Wei Yuan's means. According to the clues he provided, it is not difficult to find out the location of number 6. Number 6 saved so many children. How to place? Replaced by Xu Qian'an. The first choice must be to check the health halls all over the capital. Except for Wei Yuan, who can summon the people of the court. The murderer who killed Ping Yuanbu was found, but he was not arrested. Instead, it made up for the silver taels owed to the health hall. He was sent to forsake. In the dim candlelight of the courtyard, Xu Qian'an said in a low voice, "Hey, Dad." Xu Qian'an, who got up early, just came to the back hall. I heard the noisy voice of little Doubting. His little white face. There was a bright red pimple. It hurts to press it. The ant lied to him. It's a bug on the face. Bugs are eating its flesh. Tomorrow, it will be disfigured. I won't be able to get married in the future. Su Weifan comforted you. This is not disfigurement. You're bubbling up to beauty. Little Bean Ding asked suspiciously, what is the bubbling of beauty? It's definitely prettier than your mother and sister in the future. Little Bean Ding believed it. I was very happy to eat 3 more bowls of porridge for breakfast. Arrived at the yamen of the watchman. Song Ting Fong said enviously, your knife is good. Su Weifan pressed the knife with one hand. Thumb up. Let the black gold knife come out of its sheath. The 3-inch smile was proud, and the Dao Si Tian supervised it. He didn't say that it was sent by the superintendent, because no one believed it. In case it is believed, spread the word. It will also attract the attention of pretenders. Nicholas Song and Zhu Guangxiao's eyes lit up. This is the Dharma instrument. Xu Qian shook his head. It's not a ritual weapon. He didn't inscribe the formation only. One is characterized by being like me. The 2 were speechless. This girl is shameless. Then, Xu Qian asked, the day after tomorrow is the day of His Majesty's ancestors. You've probably had a few experiences. We just need to guard the edge of Sambo. The ancestor worship ceremony was held in Sangpa. You know this. Sambo is outside the imperial city. Xiaohu happened to be among the guards of the 5 guards in the capital. The ritual process is in charge of Taijoji Temple and the Ministry of Rites. The task of beating the guard is simple. It is to maintain order, protect the safety of the royal family. The patrols on the periphery include the Imperial Sword Guard and the Golden Guard. Imperial City Forbidden Army. Today's mission is to patrol the day. Day patrol has the benefit of day patrol. In addition to beating the guard, there are also sword positions for patrolling the city and catching axes for quick teeth. This gives them time to touch the fish. If you are tired, you can go to Golan to listen. This made Xu Qian's feet come with a familiar feeling. He bent over and pretended his shoes were dirty. Reached out and patted it. Nicholas Sung untimely turned around and urged a big man. Also shoot shoes. Is the little life so exquisite? They talked as they walked. Suddenly, I saw a pair of axe teeth in overalls in front of me. After catching Lu Qing and seeing the three of them. The voice said contemptuously to Su Gongzi, "Meet again. There are two more. Don't come unharmed." The two were speechless. "Call him Su Gongzi. We're just two of us. Co-authored me and Guangxiao are just two small horns without names." Then, in the early morning of the brigade, there was a murder on Sanshui Street. It's also within the scope of your patrols. Since I met it, let's go together. The three of them turned pale. There was a murder. Xu Qian'an and his colleagues rushed to Sanshui Street. Stop at the door of a house. Su wife and entered the courtyard, looking at the mother and son in front of him. The deceased was the woman's husband. He has an 11-year-old only son under his knees. The deceased's name was Lu Han. It's a small organ of King Fearless. At this time, the early morning sound of the study was intact. There are no signs of being prying. There are no footprints of the window either. There is also no wife on the beam. It should have been done by an acquaintance. Doors and windows are in good condition. There are no footprints on the beams. The basic rule out is to break into the study and commit murder. The deceased sat upright, from the point of view of the table. It's an instant death. There was no struggle. A normal person sits in the study at home. It should be relaxing and pleasant. It shouldn't be such a proper sitting position. This shows that the deceased and the murderer knew each other. Not only knowing, or someone who makes him very awed or afraid. In addition, the cause of his death at first glance was the throat. But I guess the real cause of death was the forehead. The murderer's methods here are very neat. There is no cut pipe. Instead, the carotid artery on the side was directly severed. At first glance, he is a veteran. Cutting your throat does not kill you on the spot. And this little organ died directly on the desk. There was no struggle. Didn't let the blood spill everywhere. It is inferred from this. The cause of death was not singing. What really made him die on the spot? It was the killer who shattered his forehead. The brain was fatally wounded, resulting in the deceased having no chance to react and struggle. Died on the spot. Posthumous stiffness spreads throughout the body. Corpse spots no longer displace. The cornea is quite cloudy. The time of death should be more than 17 hours. Other words, the killer killed in the night. I suggest tracing from these aspects. The first is to investigate the government's recent night travel commentary. The second is to ask about the bit, whether you have encountered suspicious people in the vicinity. The third is to ask the watchman who is responsible for patrolling the area at night. Fourth, ask family members. The deceased's recent interpersonal situation. No one spoke for a long time. Lu Qing and the others looked at him stunned. That's it. It only takes a long time to make a clear and unambiguous reasoning. And build on that. Directions for the investigation of the case. Not long after, a servant reported that the deceased had not made any recent enmity with anyone. There were no guests last night. Visiting Su's wife, and frowned. The deceased is just a small organ. Vendetta is ruled out. What could be the reason for the murderer to enter the house late at night? Murder and murder. Lu Qingxi sensed something. Sharply said, and brought the sweaty lady over. The official hurriedly ran out. Not long after, Lu Qin looked at the woman. Shun Dao said that there was suddenly more silver at home. Or maybe Lu Han said something to you. The woman recalled, wailing a few days ago. Husband, he said that he would take us out of the capital. Go outside and live a chic life. Su asked his wife. How many days ago? The woman didn't remember it very well. About 10 years. I didn't get any key clues. They had to leave the yard first. At this time, Lu Qing guessed. He must have accepted a bribe before he was killed. Song Tingfeng did not arrive. But a small organ can be destroyed because of something. Su Qian thought for a moment. If I am not mistaken, Jin Wudao is in charge of the east gate of the inner city and the eastern gate of the imperial city. As soon as these words came out, everyone's faces changed slightly. Su Qian continued, perhaps we should go and meet Lu Han's immediate superior. Lu Han's boss is Kim, fearless protection. Although there are all hundreds, but Kim's fearless status. It's much taller than the blade guard. The latter is the unit security guard, and the former is the leader's bodyguard. But Xu Qian'an and others wanted to come to the door for questioning. You have to have a ticket issued by the Yamen as a certificate. Xu Qian'an returned to Chunfeng Hall. Report the matter to Li Yuchen. Brother Chun Chinin said that this matter is very strange. However, the imperial city was heavily guarded. A small organ can't make any waves. As usual, the question is, Jin Wu will check for himself. In addition, the day of His Majesty's ancestor worship is coming soon. Our focus should be on that. After saying that, he immediately gave Xu Qi a ticket. The east gate of the imperial city. Xu Qian and the others waited here for an hour. Just a little now. When you are impatient, the protagonist returns. Jin Wei, 100 households. Zhou Qixiong took the lead. What are you doing? I'm not here. Song Tingfeng said unhappily. 100 households per week. There is a spectacle called Lu Han under your hands. While he asked, Xu Qian took out a piece of paper from his arms, ignited by a gas engine. The next moment, his pupils were dyed with a layer of blue. Zhou Baihu was quiet, restrained Mei Yujian's irritability. There is such a person, Nicholas Song said. He died, and Zhou Baihu couldn't hide his surprise. What Lu Qin asked. Lu Han may have had an abnormality recently. Zhou Baihu shook his head. There are no anomalies. Lu Qin then asked. He only guarded the east gate. During this period, there were no suspicious people and things entering and leaving the imperial city. Zhou Baihu shook his head again. There were many soldiers guarding the imperial city. It is useless to bribe one person alone, unless bribes are all. And this is impossible, Zhu Guangxiao said in a deep voice. What if it bribes you? Zhou Baihu's face changed. The repressed irritability swelled up again. What do you mean? Song Tingfeng said. Just routine questioning. Why should Zhou Baihu be angry? Your Majesty's ancestor worship is imminent. We also don't want things to go wrong when it matters most. I asked again, because there is a gong of the vigorous tree staring at the side. Zhou Baihu is all questions, suppressed his fiery temper, until Xu Qian's qi forgetting technique continued. Time passes. Nicholas Song asked. The questioning is over. How do you look at the qi forgetting technique? Xu Qian shook his head. He wasn't lying. Maybe. Sweating is extinguished because of something else unknown. Let this case be put on hold for now. The ancestor worship ceremony is important. The day after tomorrow is the day when the emperor worships his ancestors. Everything has to be moved backwards. Say goodbye to Lu Qin and others. Xu Qian re-examined the whole process. To no avail, he put aside the sweaty things. October 15, Jiazi Day of the year of Gengzi. Pray for blessings. Sacrifice to the ancestors. Today is the day of the royal family to worship their ancestors. This time of year, the gates of the inner city will be closed. As the second uncle of the guardian of the Imperial Sword Guard,